This is Screen Junkies Movie Fights, brought to you by NatureBox. Now your host, Andy Signore.
Greetings, Screen Junkies. This week, it's getting personal. I am so excited for this one because we have three of our own here. This is going to be the Backyard Brawl. Three of our producers and staff here have been fighting nonstop every day while they work here, and we decided to finally put it on the line for the real deal fight. So this is serious bragging rights we're fighting for here today.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm. And this has been a long time brewing behind the scenes, for sure.
Well, I want to get to it. We're going to have some amazing fights today, including who is the next character that should get their own Lego movie? Ooh, that's creative. Who is the worst successful director? And what's the most overrated movie of all time? A lot of fun stuff, which you can follow along on Movie Fights Live, hashtag Movie Fights Live on Twitter if you're watching us live on Plus. But let's meet these fighters. You guys should know them all if you're here in the Screen Junkies universe. First up, he's usually in the booth. It's JTE.
What up, everybody? I gotta represent the Patriots, coming off the greatest Super Bowl victory in the history of NFL Super Bowls. Sorry, I just had to put that out there. I feel like I have that energy.
Wow, he's already really trying to hurt his chances out the gate.
No, listen, I feel confident enough where that's not going to hurt me because I can overcome that. And I got that energy, Andy, the energy of watching that game with me. I'm at full power.
All right. Second, he's usually the one writing the questions, but he didn't get to this week. It's Mr. Lon Harris. Welcome, Lon.
Thank you. Excited.
Yeah? You nervous?
No. I mean, it's appropriate because I'm going to deflate all of JTE's arguments. So it's a good choice of T-shirt.
We all saw how that ended, everybody.
Lastly, he's usually on TV fights. So excited to have him here in his Movie Fights debut, Mr. Billy Business. Billy Patterson, welcome, good sir.
Thank you, and I just want to say off the top, because everybody's been following us on Twitter, I'm not here today to pull any mind games. I'm not here to do anything to trash my opponents.
You're not on the camera.
I'm not here to. I'm here to play the game.
Yeah.
I'm not here to do anything crazy. I'm here to do a fair fight and do this the right way. Starting now.
Where did you get the slasher? Oh, it's me. It's me.
What is?
It's me.
Oh,
it's just me.
What shot of JT
that is Vegemite JTE.
Yeah, that's right. That is the Vegemite. Wow.
That's JTE when he found out he would have to lose against me. So,
wow, Billy spent some money today.
That's the best use of a tax return ever.
I want some royalties off that.
Seriously, do you have royalties for this?
I want royalties on it.
This is going in the rotation.
We had invited Carrot Top to be here. He couldn't make it, but we're like, we put a little prop comedy in the show.
Oh, well, this is exciting. I'm so excited for this Backyard Brawl. This really is important for us, and they're going to bring it because there's passion here. Our best fights are the ones where there's a little bit of heat behind them, and there's a reason for it. There will be some today. Helping us make sure you guys stay on fact, though, it's our man in charge of the fact cam, Mr. Dan Merle.
Hello.
Dan Cam. How's it going, dude?
I'm doing good. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Wow,
So happy.
Backyard Brawl. I'm going to try to keep track on Twitter. Twitter's been a little squiffy this afternoon, but I'm going to do my best to keep track on Twitter. Squiffy.
Okay, that's a good
Iffy.
word.
It's squiffy.
Squeamish and iffy.
Squeamish and iffy.
Yeah.
All right, well, Dan, let's do this. Helping our, guys know how to play this show, so I'm not going to tell you.
Yeah,
you
no
guys help
need to
make this show,
explain.
so you all know how this works. So let's get to it. Before we do, though, I have to thank our sponsor today, which is NatureBox. We love NatureBox, and Dan, you have some NatureBox things over there,
Got
correct?
some salt and lentil potato crisps, zesty nacho curls. We got these mini crispy snickerdoodles, mini Belgian waffles.
Oh, I like
These are
those.
the-
The
you want
Belgian
them
waffles.
here?
Those snickerdoodles over
Billy,
here.
see, so you can. There you go. That's
little
a
Belgian
That's
waffles.
a
Snickerdoodles.
JT and I crushed a whole packet of this when we were doing movie
We
versus
got
movie in
whole
like a
wheat
day.
vanilla animal cookies.
Flip 'em around so you
cheddar
can
and hatch
see.
chili crackers.
Yeah,
all
wow,
kinds
look
of-
at this. Guys, NatureBox makes snacks that actually taste good and better for you as Dan's showing you
Yes.
showing off these items. Be my Vanna White as I talk, Dan. Of
course.
Created with high quality ingredients and that are free from artificial colors, flavors, or sweeteners, so you can feel great about snacking. There are over 100 snacks to choose from that are delivered right to your door, and you can order as much as you want, as often as you want, with no minimum purchase required, and you can cancel at any time. Sounds amazing. So try it out. You can go after the show to naturebox.com/screenjunkies to save 50% off your first order, exclusive to the Screen Junkies fans. Again, that's naturebox.com/screenjunkies to save 50% off your first order. Thank you,
I'm going
NatureBox.
to eat this pony. I have a horse. I have a small horse.
Oh,
It's
wow.
a squiffy pony.
It's very
Squiffy
good.
pony.
It's delicious.
All right, thank you, Nature Box, for helping us in the show. Go support them, please. All right, let's do this.
Come on! Let's get nuts. I want to fight you.
You want to fight? Let him fight.
Stop this fight, I'll kill you. I could do this all day.
All right, round one. This one comes in from James White, the Banff Gator. He wants to know, in honor of the Lego Batman movie, which I loved. It was
can't wait
such a
to-
great
yeah, looking
film.
forward to
Made
it.
perhaps one of the best Batman films yet. Very, very well touching and well done. We wanted to ask you guys, who's the next character that should get their own Lego adventure? And we're going to start with you, JT.
All right, this was actually pretty easy for me. DC is such a huge, has so many characters, and I think it has so much of that world you could play with. When you go back and play these video games, like these Batman movie came out of these video games. They're huge hits. They've done it with The Hobbit, they've done it with Star Wars, Indiana Jones, and they even touched upon it with Marvel with the Avengers. So I think Spider-Man is ripe for the he needs his own Lego movie. You know why? Because what I love about this Batman thing is they don't mind making fun of the past Batman films. They like to joke around about them. Even the 70s show. You know what else had a 70s show? Spider-Man, and it was horrible. You know what else had some pretty bad movies in their franchise? Spider-Man. There's so many things here you could poke fun at with the Spider-Man films that I think it would just add so much to the humor. And Marvel's huge right now. It's one of the biggest properties, hands down, and no one has yet to really make fun of it. No one has yet to just kind of do a parody. So I feel like Spider-Man is the perfect way to do it because you're seeing it from a kid's angle. You have high school drama in there. You got superheroes, Iron Man showing up. I just think it's a home run.
Alon?
So I'm going a little bit differently. I went with Roger Rabbit, and here's my argument. Rude. You already have Roger Rabbit in that world, combining the worlds of traditional cell animation and live action. Now we're adding a third kind of animation. It's a whole new world that they
third
could
dimension?
go to, if you will, of the sort of Lego town. So now you've got, the ability to go to Toontown, Lego Town, and reality, and constantly combine all of those sort of elements into one. It's already, the Roger Rabbit world is already a setup for a ton of popular cameos, people stopping by. It's sort of this old Hollywood world. So now you've got adding on the Lego world and all of the dimensions of Lego characters that you can add. So those rights open up this whole new sort of world that you can add. Plus, you've already got a great, interesting Lego setting, the world of 70s LA noir. You get to do exactly for the Lego movie what you did for Toontown, which is recreate this whole new version of it. What was the Lego world? We sort of saw a perspective of the Lego movie, sort of that's what the Lego world is like present day. This would be a chance to do like a period throwback Lego world. Like what was that city like in the 70s? What would the Roger Rabbit sort of equivalent Toontown be for the world of Legos?
All right, Billy.
All right, so I think why the Lego formula works is that it takes something that maybe takes itself a little too seriously, but is also broad enough that it has multiple generations of fans. So I think right now, especially in the climate that we're in with Star Wars and the resurgence, the most obvious no-brainer choice is to do Darth Vader, because Darth Vader is such a beloved character by so many people. But guess what? He was pretty intense in Rogue One, and I don't know if I want to take my kid to see that. Just like a Batman movie, I don't know if I want to take my kid to see that. But if it's Darth Vader in Lego form, first of all, the kids are going to love it, and the parents are going to love it, and it's also so ready to make fun of so many dumb things about the prequels. We already know that there's tons of jokes that they can wink to. We already know that people love Lego Star Wars. Darth Vader is the clear choice on this one.
All right, fight it out, guys.
Well, I mean, the first thing I'd comment about Darth Vader, like the whole point of a lot of these Lego movies is you kind of take these classic properties and here's like sort of a parody, here's sort of a play on it. When you combine humor and Darth Vader, that's when everything goes wrong. That's when people get upset. The jokes are what people hate. They want it to be scary and intense, and you're taking the exact format that doesn't allow him to be scary and intense.
This is for the kids. This is not for the
But
adult
those
that wants
moments
to
like,
see.
oh, I hope you don't choke on your aspiration. Like you're setting up a whole movie of that.
Because that's
within
Lon, that is within the context of an overly serious film. Of course, I don't want Darth Vader doing Freddy Krueger one-liners in a
movie where it's
PG-13.
just Darth Vader making jokes.
Because I know what I'm getting into. Do I want Batman going around making stupid jokes in a new
sure,
Batman
Batman's a much
movie?
more diverse
no, it's the
character.
Exact same
like,
thing,
no,
Lon.
Batman's been funny. Batman was on that '60s show that's really cartoony. He's malleable. Darth Vader is one guy.
He is absolutely not one guy. They've already shown in that.
Oh, you want Anakin? We should do Anakin Skywalker. We need more Anakin Skywalker.
This
movies.
is how you make Darth. This is how you acknowledge acknowledge the mistakes of the past in a fun way, but you also make Darth Vader accessible to young kids.
Acknowledge the mistakes. It's supposed to be a fun movie. You're not supposed to be acknowledging
because
the
if
mistakes
you're a
of the
kid,
past.
you're not going to sit there and you're not going to
I'm not going to sit there.
But as a parent that has to sit there,
JT.
Yeah, let me knock down both your guys' picks because there's so many problems. Number one, Star Wars has been spoofed about just about everybody. Go online, look up Star Wars spoof. You'll find something making fun of the prequels, the originals. Family Guy's done it. Spaceballs done it. They already do it in like so many cartoons. It's been done. And if I want to watch a spoof of the prequels, I'll watch the prequels. They're funny without having me have to make jokes about it. You can just sit around with friends and watch me like, oh, this is so stupid. I don't see how that's going to translate to a Lego universe. There's not
it's
much.
already translated to a Lego universe.
There
are Lego shows already. The property is proven. It's proven.
You want to watch toys? Something that looks like toys?
JT.
Make fun of Star Wars? Go ahead and watch.
JT, do you know what Occam's razor is?
Robot chicken.
Do you know what
Robot
the
chicken.
simplest answer is the right one. Darth Vader makes sense because you already know
He's
that this
a side
works.
dish. I don't want a Vader movie. I don't want Vader. He would be great as a side character. If you picked another character, then like Vader popped up once in a while, that'd be hilarious. For Vader to be just the whole time making jokes, like I don't understand how he is the main character of that movie. Let me talk about Roger Rabbit. What kid wants a 70s noir film? I can't wait to get the Bob Hoskins action figure.
Bob Hoskins wouldn't be in it because it's in the 70s. He was in the 40s. Also, he's dead.
Wait, and then first of all, the best thing
about
Roger
Rabbit was in the 40s and kids loved it.
The best thing about Roger Rabbit is the novelty, the fact that you're seeing live action with hand-drawn animation.
And you still are, so now you're adding a different kind of animation. You're still seeing that
that's not what a Lego
Roger Rabbit
that's
is
not what a
too
Lego
far
movie is.
removed. Like, if at this point, I'd rather just see a Roger Rabbit sequel. I don't think anyone's clamoring.
You just said you want to see my movie.
No, but I'm saying I want to see a direct
Lego.
sequel. I don't need to
But it
see.
would be.
I don't need to see Roger Rabbit Lego-ized. It's
already
already
animated.
whimsical.
It's just a different kind of
It's already
animation.
whimsical.
I
You
wanna-
don't need to go the Lego route. The Lego
you
route
don't
works
need
best
to.
when it's a property that needs the Lego treatment.
I don't even see what to
And
respond to
Roger
there.
Rabbit doesn't need to.
I gotta talk about Spider-Man.
Yeah, you absolutely have to respond to me because I'm
The
tearing
big
down
comment
your
was
stupid choice.
there hasn't been a parody about Marvel, and like we just had Deadpool. We just had a movie that existed only to parody superhero movies,
that was
only to parody origin stories. And you said it yourself. We've had so many Spider-Man stories, so many origin stories, so many takes on the character.
Yep.
Do we really need another one?
Yes,
You're just changing
let me
up the
tell you
format
why.
a little bit.
Deadpool is a rated R movie taken on the comic book genre.
But you said, there's
Lego
never been a parody take on
of
MCU
Marvel.
movies. Like there just was.
No,
it was a huge hit.
we're talking specifically Marvel and what they're doing with the MCU. That was not what
comic
Deadpool
book-
was doing.
What comic book series
Again,
is
I
Deadpool
think you
in?
guys are missing the point of what makes these Lego movies great. It's seeing them
Darth
Lego.
Vader.
It's seeing something that's taken in a completely different context. Spider-Man is already fun. It's already
necessarily.
whimsical. What are you going to see new in a Spider-Man Lego movie
So
that
you're
you probably
like
couldn't pull
Hannibal
off?
Lecter, because then it's different. Like it does not necessarily.
Who's talking about Hannibal
But
Lecter?
your whole point is, you have to combine Lego with something really serious for it to
No,
work.
I'm saying
And it's
if
like,
you
don't. A lot
I'm
of the
saying
things
if
they
you
recreate in Lego aren't
choose, if you
serious.
choose something that has a wide enough range, like a Batman, like Darth Vader, where Star Wars can apply to a
But Roger
4-year-old
Rabbit
and an
has this like
80-year-old.
noir detective side.
What
It does
don't
have
even
that
know
side.
what
Guys, the
means.
question is what
But you
character.
don't need to know what the word
The question
means to
is what
appreciate
character
it.
deserves.
I gotta
Star
talk about
Wars-
more Spider-Man.
Listen,
Superheroes have already been
I'm still
done to
talking.
death in this
Star
video.
Wars
We're all
has
sort of talking,
yes.
so let's try and calm it down.
Star Wars has so many spoofs that he does not need that. There's so many Star Wars films out there that
It is true,
literally
there's already
cover
been a lot of Star
what
Wars
you want to
comedies.
see. Spaceballs, like I said, Family Guy has torn it apart. Every weekly basis,
The
they're doing a show.
Wayans
to
are
How many
doing
everybody.
those right
Batman
now.
spoofs are there out there? There's tons of Batman gets spoofed anywhere and
Name
everywhere.
some,
There are
please.
some.
I remember one of my favorite things as a kid was the Alvin and the Chipmunk spoof
Is that,
of Batman.
is that what we're grading it at?
Wow.
Oh, that thing really hit the mainstream.
But
I mean, there
I'm
are those
saying
Schumacher
superheroes in
movies.
general
But
are teased all the
the
time
MC
to say that it's not worthy
here's-
because there are other. Can you show your kids Spaceball? Because there's some shit in there that you can't show.
Yeah,
a
I
little
watched
kid.
it as a kid and I loved it.
Well, that's why you are the way you are, JT.
Listen,
Jesus
there's
Christ.
Come on,
nothing
go ahead.
wrong with that.
Oh, I mean, we've seen so many Spider-Man stories, we've seen so many Superman stories, and even the
Yes.
context, the setting of Spider-Man is you're in a big city like a metropolis, New York, downtown. It's exactly what we saw in the Lego movie. There's nothing new to
Sounds
add
like
there.
Batman
It
Lego
would-
to me.
It would literally look, well, Gotham is at least a different location. Like the Lego movie opens in a city that's supposed to look exactly like Manhattan. Like, what more is there to do? It's just Spider-Man swinging between the buildings, otherwise it would look identical. There's really like nothing much to add there. We've seen every element of a
ridiculous.
Spider-Man, and Spider-Man even is already a funny character, so he's already quipping.
Perfect.
He's already making jokes. No, but it's just more of the
It's
same.
more
We're
of the
just
same.
seeing
We don't
another
need-
version of
he
that
doesn't need to be in
again.
that
The
in that
only
format.
difference would be he's made of Lego bricks instead of Tobey Maguire this
It's
time.
deserving. What deserves to be in that format? You guys have chosen things that are already in a Lego-esque format in terms of tone. Darth Vader is not within. Star Wars is not
Question
within
is
the
movie.
tone.
What deserves a movie? Not what deserves to have a Lego product placement
No,
all over
what
the place.
character
deserves
deserves
its
to
own
have the Lego
movie?
treatment?
Yeah.
You guys chose things that are already very whimsical.
How about Star Wars, is it?
Look at, oh my God, the scene with Darth Vader
Star
tearing
Wars
people
isn't
apart.
whimsical?
Yeah.
Is your point?
I'm saying that you chose things that are
Really? Do you
clearly
want to walk that back, maybe?
No, I don't want to walk that
telling me-
back at all.
Let the record show.
God, all right. All right.
Final thoughts?
Just letting you hopefully get it all out so I can listen clearer. I'm going to go back each of you
You're
one
gonna
more.
try to let them tire each other
Yeah, I was
out.
trying to let. Sorry, I'm
First
sure a lot
round
of
of
friends are like, oh my
doping
God.
us?
All right,
I was trying to see if they tire themselves out. I'm going to go across one more time.
Got it.
Why is yours more deserving than the other two? Concise, no interruptions. We're starting back with you, JT.
Mine deserves it because MCU right now is bigger than ever. It is the one property that every person who goes in from a kid to adult want to see, and it's ripe for the picking. There's not really been anything that really parodied it. Say Deadpool, but how many kids you take and see Deadpool? None, because it's a hard radar movie. It's doing the genre. I'm talking about specifically MCU. One of the funnest things about going to see these Lego movies is all the cameos. Batman, Lego movie, all these different characters come around. You have Iron Man, the Hulk. There's so many fun things you can do with all these characters, and you can cast celebrities that aren't playing them in the movies. Just like they're doing in the Lego Batman movie. They get all these great comedic actors to fill in these iconic roles that have already been established in the MCU. I think Roger Rabbit is ridiculous. No one's calling for that. That movie was a good 80s film, and in my opinion, it's a decent film, but doesn't stand up today. I revisited it actually the very end of last year. It's not bad, but again, Hoskins' character is literally investigating like adultery, murder. The movie's freaking scary, and I think there's no world there to play with. I mean, who are you gonna have? Betty Boop and Dumbo? That's not interesting to me as much as like the Marvel characters. You don't have a world. These Lego movies are about a fun world where you have cameos from other famous properties, and MCU is full of them. And not to mention, with Spider-Man, you get the high school angle. You got a kid's eye view of the MCU, which we haven't really seen yet because Tom Holland's film hasn't come out. It's not gonna be dark and broody, and you can make fun of the original Star Wars. Imagine every time the guy cries, it's like a Tobey Maguire drawn face or something. You could have a scene where he reenacts the
Make
whole.
fun of Spider-Man. You said Star Wars.
Oh, Spider-Man, sorry.
Okay, I was confused.
You could make fun of the fact that Tobey Maguire did that whole dance in the jazz club. There's so many nods you can make to these films that will be really funny in Lego form that you could actually. It's so ripe for the picking. I can't imagine they're not going to do one.
Okay, Lon, your closings.
I mean, I think all the things that you just heard about how great the cameos could be work doubly for mine because they're not limited to just Marvel. It's literally anyone you could imagine being in the context of Lego or animation could be a cameo in this. So I'm just going to take that and say it applies better to mine. But this is, it's such a world. The argument is that Roger Rabbit doesn't have a world. Of course it has a world. It actually has a land at Disneyland modeled after it because it has defined its own world so well. The world of Toontown. And all I'm saying is you already have this establishment of the world of Toontown. Now here's an opportunity to add another world, Lego Town, that's right next to Toontown. It's a totally additional world that you get to create.
So they're
and you get to
cartoons or they're
intermingle.
Legos?
No, they're
That's
it's
what I'm
just
saying.
like the animation of the
What's
Lego
the
movie.
sorry? What's the difference between
Well, there's
Lego
traditional
Toontown and
cell-
Lego Town?
Because Toontown is cell animation. It looks exactly like Looney Tunes.
That's what I'm asking. So there's actual animated
There's
cartoons
a Looney Tunes
and
type
a Lego
world.
version. So
And
Roger
then-
Rabbit is hand drawn.
Roger Rabbit
And
still
there's
looks
humans in it
exactly.
also?
Yeah, it's all three. There's Los
So you're
Angeles.
not making a Lego Roger Rabbit.
No, there's Los Angeles.
Okay.
There's Toontown where Roger Rabbit and Daffy Duck and
is
Donald
Roger
are from.
Rabbit in Lego form?
I mean, I think you can mix and match. Like when Roger Rabbit goes into Lego Town, maybe he becomes Lego. It's all what you want to do with the creativity. But my original idea is, yeah, Roger Rabbit lives in the Roger Rabbit 2D world. Then there's a Lego animation world where Emmett and Wild Style and Gandalf and any other Lego characters you want live there. And then there's a human world where people live and they're all
Got it. Billy?
mingling together.
Okay.
Logistics of that,
So
Jesus.
It's not complicated at all.
With the Spider-Man, JT, you with your pitch of what Spider-Man would be, you just pitched what is already coming out in just a couple of days. And Spider-Man is a character that is already, like you said, he's already joking with villains. He's already doing all of this stuff that I feel like a Lego format would give him otherwise. You don't need it. Lon, I don't know what you just tried to pitch right there. It makes no sense when you say it. It made no sense when I saw it. Roger Rabbit is already in a fantastical cartoon world. He's not going to benefit anymore from a Lego movie, and no kid wants to see 70s more. No kid cares about Who Framed Roger Rabbit. With Star Wars, with Darth Vader, the great thing about Star Wars, just like Batman, is that it appeals to a wide range of people because of different outlets and different expressions of the character. We just got a super kick-ass dark Darth Vader, and now it's time to have a Darth Vader that can also appeal to the super young. That's what Star Wars does best. We already know Star Wars Legos works because it's already a hit in other formats. If I don't get this point, I guarantee you this movie's still going to get made no matter what.
I heard your point against Roger. What was your point against?
My point against JTE was that Spider-Man he's already quipping. He's already doing all the Lego-esque characters, and the movie that he pitched with all the cameos and exploring the world, we're already getting that movie in a couple days with Batman, Lego Batman. That's not a movie that we're gonna want. It's gonna come off as a bad ripoff.
I don't have a bell.
It's Marvel's version.
Oh,
Ding.
no. I don't have a bell either.
Let's get our bells.
Yeah, we'll need bells.
Ding, ding, ding. Dan.
Yes.
As you're doing the bells,
Yes.
Max will awkwardly walk by you. And go ahead.
Spider-Man and Darth Vader are currently licensed by Lego as figures or sets. Neither one of them have appeared in film form in either of the Lego movies. There is a Roger Rabbit ride at Disneyland, but it's called Mickey's Toontown, so it's not quite styled after Roger Rabbit.
It's Toontown.
It's Mickey's Toontown.
Mickey's
Mickey
Toontown.
is there.
Yeah, it's called Mickey's
He's
Toontown.
physically present.
Go ahead.
It's called
Goofy's
Mickey's
there.
Toontown, Lon.
Yeah.
You arguing with Disney? You can't win that
A
battle.
lot of people throwing some stuff around. I'm looking at Lego Willy Wonka. I'm looking at Lego Danger Mouse. Corey L. Williams says Lego Matrix. Mike Esparza said Lego Deadpool would be a seamless transition. At Rival Tag, I could get on board with Lego Back to the Future. James, at that Banff Gator, who asked this question, weighed in. He says, thanks, Andy Signor. I say Superman. DC can't get that right and needs a lighter tone. I saw a lot of support for Lego Superman also on Twitter. So, and for everybody who said that last week's fight was too laid back.
There you go. You're welcome.
Feast or famine?
Let's not talk about it last week.
Yeah.
All right. Based on the arguments, yeah, Lon, I love you, but what the hell were you talking about? The question says Lego treatment, then you're like, he's 2D, whatever. I think I don't. It didn't make it. Didn't. I think all three of us had trouble arguing, but good. I love Roger Rabbit. Unlike the others said, but then I think Billy did help really sort of reaffirm it. Already has that fantastical world, and we already get that in the movies. It didn't make, and then it didn't really make much sense. So sadly, you're out. So they ended the game between Spider-Man and Darth Vader, and you made a lot of good points about the cameos, but that's sort of, and then you did talk about the high school angle and some of the stuff. But I think Billy made a better argument as to what to mine from Star Wars, and that we haven't really seen it. And you definitely won me over when you sort of reaffirmed like, the Batman Lego movie is sort of what you're already pitching, which we get. Darth Vader and Star Wars would be a new take on things that I think we could see an interesting angle. So Billy gets the first point.
Well fought. Well fought.
Twitter agrees with you, Andy. 48% of voters voted for Darth Vader, 36% backing Spider-Man, and 16% voting for
That's tough.
Roger Rabbit.
Roger Rabbit's tough.
The hammer and the he has a bell looking for the hammer too. Thank you. Sorry. No. The hammer should be back with the bell. Isn't it back there in the bell?
Oh, I see. I'm looking at it. I'm looking right at it.
With the bells.
Here, I'll grab it.
Sorry, thank you. I gotta have my hammer handy. All right, question number round 2. This is a fun one. Who is the worst successful director? And I just called it. I willed it. Thank you guys. Who's the worst successful director is the question. That means that we off behind the scenes, yes, it's in there. They had to have at least 2 hit movies to sort of be deemed a successful director. Who is the worst out of anyone who's had success? Who is the worst working director? We're going to you first, Lon.
So I went with Mark Forrester, and I think what bothers me so much about Mark Forrester is he takes on such a diverse range of different kinds of projects, and he renders them all terrible. It's like they all pass through this like mediocrity bland filter before they come out. And the worst of it is when he tries to take on these really like ambitious projects like World War Z or Finding Neverland or Stranger Than Fiction, and it's fake art. He's such a poser, and there's no depth to it. There's no characters in these films that you care about. There's no humanity to these films. They're just kind of going through the motions, taking the styles and genres that other people have developed, and then rendering them as kind of this like empty, bland output. I'll take a few quick examples. Monsters Ball, which is like an imitation Sundance movie. Like, let's throw a lot of melodrama, let's put a lot of hysterics at it, let's put good actors in there, but it's just totally empty. It's just like, let's throw trauma at you, throw tragedy at you until you just get worn down. The next one I want to take is Quantum of Solace, quite possibly the worst James Bond movie we've ever had. And coming off of the high of Casino Royale, it's just this totally forgettable, like he's trying to do the Paul Greengrass, like quick cut thing. It makes no sense. It's completely incoherent. And then finally, World War Z, globe-trotting, Brad Pitt-killing zombie should be such an automatic home run. It's such an easy, obvious thing, and he just biffs it so bad they can't even get a sequel going after all this time because it was so terrible, it just falls apart. And you just don't care. There's no through line to it. It's just empty style and effects. There's just nothing behind it. It's just these are fake movies, fake art. I hate Mark Forster.
That was clear. Billy.
I think clearly when you talk about this guy, it's style over substance, and it's Zack Snyder. Look, Zack Snyder missed his calling in life. Cinematographer, absolutely, would knock it out of the park. Zack Snyder is, I'm pretty sure, physically incapable of telling a cohesive story. He someday will have his own wing in the Razzie Hall of Fame. This guy is, everything he touches turns to death. It's Zack Snyder.
Wow, okay. He's not needing as much time. Let's see what you do.
Let me tell you,
JT.
I went with McG, and because all his films make profit, and that's why he keeps making movies. The problem is all his movies are pretty much horrible. He came from that. This is what happens in Hollywood. When you're a music video director, two things happen. You're either David Fincher or you're more Michael Bay. He wished he was close to either of these guys. Because when you watch it, his movies aren't really, they don't tell stories. They're just slick shots to music. Watch the first Charlie's Angels again. It's a music video. It's a music video with some wire food added into to distract you from the other music video that's about to come up. And Zack Snyder, yes, cinematographer, the guy could shoot action so well. McG wishes he had 1/10 the talent Zack Snyder. I mean, say what you will, directing. Yeah, he 300? 300's a great movie. I think Zack Snyder's a great director if you give him the right material. McG has not, he was given Terminator Salvation, and that movie is an abomination. It's almost unwatchable. He had Christian Bale, who was coming off some of his best work from Dark Knight and all that stuff, and he made him look horrible. He was boring. There's nothing good McG has done. His last film, 3 Days to Kill, horrible. The only film of his that's not 100, like in the rotten for sure, is the first Charlie's Angels, and I think it's at like 66%, so it barely made it. And that's because you had actresses who, they're personable, they're fun. The movie is like fast food. It's, you watch it once, you're like, that's a fun time, but there's no substance. There's nothing artistic about his movies. They're literally just products. And that's why I think he's the worst director who is, again, makes profit every time he makes a movie. He makes a profit. No, they're not the biggest hits. It's not 300, but he's also not making Sucker Punch to the point where it's like, I have this much money and it just goes to complete crap.
I gotta respond. First of all, you're saying the material that Zack Snyder is given is why he can't. Are you kidding me? He was given Batman versus Superman. That is the biggest like softball that you could throw somebody. How do you get that wrong?
He had a horrible script.
He got Watchmen, which is considered one of the greatest comic books of all time. And you know what his Watchmen movie is?
What?
His Watchmen movie is like a book report, and you read it and you realize Zack Snyder didn't read the book, he read the Wikipedia summary, because he misses every single thing that Watchmen is supposed to be.
There's not one movie of his that even comes close to being as good as Watchmen. Watchmen at least has some great ideas, and he took on a material that is so hard to make and film. A lot of people said that
but
thing
he's
was
not
unfilmable.
capable, and that's the guy you want doing it. Sucker Punch.
I'll take Zack Snyder's Watchmen over McG's
is so
every day of the week.
offensively terrible that it blows my mind that Sucker Punch, that Warner Brothers executives could sit through the entire Sucker Punch movie, and the lights come up and they go, that's our guy. That's who should be.
I want to push what he's answer the question.
Right.
Is there any McG film that's worse than Watchmen? I mean, better than Watchmen.
Of course.
What?
We Are Marshall.
Oh,
We Are Marshall.
Yeah, which is at like 30%, and is like
the
basically
first
a
Charlie's
Hallmark
Angels-
commercial.
The first Charlie's
The
Angels
first
is
Charlie's
a ton
Angels
of fun.
is a totally solid movie. It's not a classic, but it's fun, and it is stylish. And I'd like to point out that both of these guys called their directors style over substance, whereas I am not conceding that Mark Forster has a good style either. So on that level,
No, he
either
directed
style
no
style,
over
no
substance.
substance.
They at least
Your-
have style.
your
Mine is
direct-
zero style or substance.
Your director did Finding Neverland. He did Monsters Ball.
Yeah.
These are Oscar
Also,
movies. Are you
World War,
kidding me?
bad.
World War Z was a hit because it was actually
What?
an entertaining film. It's
Oh,
not.
ow, come on, it's garbage, and you know it. It's at that
No.
one shot of like, oh, they build a wall out of
are
zombies,
you
and then
kidding
once
me?
you've seen that, there's nothing.
I'm sorry.
What's a memorable scene in World War Z?
The airplane scene is one of the best zombie scenes I've ever seen.
No, it's
What
a-
a genius idea to have zombies on a plane
Oh,
where you can't
come on, it's
escape
been
them.
done a million times with zombies in an enclosed space. There's a whole movie, Train to Busan.
Is
that
there
did it.
one?
It was on the
That's
train.
after World War
Look,
Z.
World War Z should have been a way bigger disaster than
Yes,
it was. But the
totally.
fact
That
that they
production was
were
horrible.
able to pull off that third act,
Yeah.
you're like,
Pull
all right,
off?
I
What
get
do you
it.
mean? Oh,
I
he goes on
get
a
it.
boat and waves to his family? That's pulling it off?
Here's the thing, Mark
There is
Foster-
no third act. It just ends.
No, the whole
He's
third
talking about
act
the
in the
CBC.
yeah, and the
Yeah.
CDC.
At least Mark Foster has some interesting ideas. Stranger in
No, he
Fiction.
doesn't. He really doesn't.
Stranger in Fiction with Will Ferrell
Well,
was
that's
a
not his
very-
idea. He's a director.
He directed the movie. That's a
not his
hard
idea.
movie to put together. I'm saying he was able to take that
It's
idea.
not a hard movie to put together, and
He
it
was
doesn't
able
work
to.
at all.
He was able to take that
When was the
idea.
last time you heard somebody talk about how great Stranger Than Fiction
I'm
is?
not saying it's a
And
great
it's
movie.
so self-important. It's so ponderous.
I'm
it's
not
so
saying it's a
convincing,
great movie. It's an okay movie. I don't have one okay movie except for his very first film, Charlie's Angels. Then when he finally got a chance to
We
make
Are
it better,
Marshall is a totally fine
when he
football
got a
movie.
chance to make
It's
a better version of Charlie's Angels, he did Full Throttle, and it was horrible.
Look, JT, the other thing that you're saying, Terminator Salvation. Let's
so bad.
let's be really clear. Terminator was dead when he got it. He just did the double
It's also-
tap.
it's not the worst Terminator
was
movie. It's
already
better than
dead when he
Genesis.
got there. That's not
better
like
than Genesis,
it's not
no
like
way.
no. It's not like McG got there and it's like, oh my god, what did he do to Terminator? Zack Snyder, he came to the DC universe. We're like, oh my god, what did he do to this? Terminator was already dead on arrival.
McG was given a chance to reboot the franchise. He had Christian Bale, one of the biggest stars in the world at that time, and was given a huge budget. And he delivered something that made double almost what it cost, but was still a piece of crap. And everyone hated it.
You guys hardly made any movies, and like half of them are above average. Your guys made a lot of good movies. Like,
Oh
like
my
three
God.
of
My
them
guy
is
made a
good.
lot of good
The
movies.
Dawn of the Dead is good. Dawn of the Dead remake is good.
Dawn of the Dead remake is good. I love
Like,
that
it's a
movie.
good movie. My director hasn't made any good movies.
But here, oh my God, Finding Neverland and Monsters Ball.
Monsters
Look,
Ball, Halle
even
Berry
if you
won an
don't
Oscar for that
personally
movie.
like it,
the
you,
great Finding Neverland. Oh, how we rewatch Finding Neverland all the time. It was when Johnny Depp hit that point of like, we're all sick of Johnny Depp.
The
now.
only reason that people went and saw 300 was because visually it was stunning.
Yeah, 'cause your
That
director
should
is
have
a
been
visually
that-
amazing director.
Exactly, but he
It made
can't tell
Gerard
a
Butler a
story.
star.
Look, you guys have some bad movies in your repertoire. Nobody is arguing that both your directors haven't made some bad movies. My guy is the worst. He has made the worst movies. Batman vs Superman should have
Sucker
been
Punch is the only one.
Heard enough. Dan.
Yeah,
I got some.
Lon's opinion that Mark Forster is a bad director is a personal one. I cannot say that the facts back that up. Finding Neverland was a Best Picture nominee. Monsters Ball
mean it's
won
good.
Halle Berry an Oscar for Best Actress. He has 3 rotten movies, the majority fresh movies as far as the reviews go. GT was correct. McG has 1 fresh movie, which is the original Charlie's Angels, at 68%. On Twitter, first of all, Twitter's having a collective meltdown because no one picked Michael Bay.
Oh,
A
listen,
lot of people
Rock's
also
second
picking
choice.
Exactly.
Shyamalan.
But I mean, he's made
Even
at
Bad
least
Boys.
2 or 3.
If McG
right,
had one
come
movie
on.
close to The Rock,
Even
I
like-
wouldn't have picked McG.
Chris
Even like
Akins-
Armageddon is like pretty good.
Chris Akins says Roland Emmerich, but love ID4, but the rest are
that's tough.
painful. Ben Goddard,
Stargate
I
is
do
great.
like George
And
Lucas,
Patriots not
but
bad.
as a director, he's pretty terrible besides
Which one?
2 movies. George Lucas.
Oh,
That's
wow.
offensive.
I like
Come
American
on.
Graffiti's good.
And,
George Lucas.
Yeah, but mainly a lot of people very shocked and surprised that Michael Bay was
Oh,
not
yeah, I don't
No.
think he's the worst,
chosen.
actually.
Absolutely
I mean,
not.
No, I think The Rock has saved
Like
him, and
this-
Bad Boys
yeah.
have saved him.
One interesting
Armageddon,
choice that a
and
few
Pain and
people
Gain.
picked were Dennis Dugan. Dennis Dugan is the
Oh,
guy behind
yeah.
all of that.
I
That's a good
had
one.
thought
Many of
about
Adam
that, but it
Sandler's
also
movies.
seemed like low hanging.
He's all.
fruit,
He's
like,
all. That's a Sandler train.
yeah.
All right. Anything else?
No, that's it. It's just I'm kind of Lon has a personal grudge against Mark Forster.
I really hate Mark Forster.
I gotta be honest. I
do.
don't. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's not about evidence. Like, oh, he did this on the Razzies. Like, who cares who won the
But I
Razzies?
think they, sadly, Lon, I did think they gave you enough reasons as to why your films aren't
Didn't they just repeated that they're good
No,
over
they
and
mentioned
over
that
again?
the third act in World War Z and all that it wasn't a train wreck. Well, I agree with them. That it's impressive that they were able to even release that movie, as they pointed out.
Yeah.
It's a pretty low standard. He made
But
it something
it was surprisingly
releasable.
more entertaining than I thought it would be. Find Neverland, it is an Oscar nominee.
Do you like it?
Yeah, it's fine. It's on Broadway right now.
Ringing
It's on Broadway.
endorsement.
No, but anyway, my point being, it's not the worst. I
Did Mark Forster run over your dog?
Yes.
I've never been
Monsters
to Man.
Ball is like
I just think these
Heath
movies
Ledger.
are-
There's a lot of good stuff about Monsters Ball. So anyway,
the whole thing is
I
that-
think
yeah.
sadly I just didn't hear enough. Just Sile from your opinion that it was Mark Forster. So. And sadly, you're out. So it came between Zack Snyder and McGee, and I just think JT was just really on his game in this one. Had just a lot more punches back to sort of hit, because even the fact that he could be a good cinematographer and some of the wins you were admitting, I just think you guys were even having trouble naming good McGee movies, and the fact that We Are Marshall is rotten and it really is just Charlie's Angels, which is like based on everything that was heard, it was a pretty clear front runner for me for JT. Dan, what did the poll say?
The poll was pretty decisive. 53% voted for Zack Snyder, 34%
Batman
supporting
Superman's on the
McGee,
mind.
13%
probably
share
even know who he
Lawn's
is.
hatred for Mark Forster. So there you go.
All right, well, we're still in this. Let's do it. Round
There's a
3.
really intelligent, 13% segment of the audience that's voting right every time.
Yeah, Lon, you're right. I hate that guy.
Exactly.
He ran over my dog, too.
Good job, guys.
All right, if you could cancel any upcoming or potential sequel right now, anyone on the deck, what would it be? And we're going to start with you, Billy.
All right. So, hear me out, guys. I think
start.
if I were, well, when you hear this, it's going to make perfect sense. I think
Billy
that
gets the point. No.
I think the first thing that I would do is cancel Ant-Man and Wasp. Here's the reason why. If I were to say to you, this is a Marvel movie with a snarky guy in a cool suit and a business tycoon has a similar suit, and they fight. Am I talking about Iron Man or am I talking about Ant-Man? Ant-Man is what happens when you have a Dollar Tree version of Iron Man. It's one of the least grossing out-of-the-gate Marvel movies in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. He's just not that interesting. He works better as a Hulk character. And the thing that really...
As a Hulk character? What do you mean, like a supporting?
Like how a Hulk only shows up in other people's group movies. And the thing that this movie really has going against it is that it is sandwiched in between two of the most anticipated Marvel movies of all time, which is Infinity War and Part 2 or whatever they're going to end up calling it. So I walk out of the theater like, oh my God, this was the biggest Marvel movie of all time. What a boner killer to then have to go to the most inconsequential character that you have in the entire Marvel universe. I say you scrap Ant-Man. He works great with the group, but that movie is just not going to be what you're going to want to see.
Is this in between Infinity Wars? Can you confirm that for me, Dan?
I will confirm
Okay.
that, yes.
Go ahead, JT.
I'm going with a movie that it's the worst case of nostalgia sequels, I think, out there. I'm going with Space Jam 2. Because the first movie is actually god-awful. I'm sorry. If you're out there and you like Space Jam, go back and watch it. As an adult, it's horrible. It's a giant product placement. I mean, I could just sit here with a laptop and play the last honest trailer we did for Space Jam, and it would make my argument for me. The fact that you got LeBron James, who, to me, listen, there's not enough proof to say he could carry a movie, okay? He did a little scene in Trainwreck, and he was fine, but did kind of look like he was reading his lines right before he said them, like off camera. He doesn't have, charisma. He's a basketball player. In Looney Tunes... Who here still watches Looney Tunes? Kids are not aware of Looney Tunes. Bugs Bunny is not selling out action figures at Toys R Us right now. There's no Looney Tune video games. It's just like a dead property that your parents like, but kids today just don't connect with. So for me, you're taking a guy who can't act to a sequel to the movie that's really bad and is just literally there to make money, and then you're taking a product that to me is just dead. If you're gonna revive Looney Tunes, don't do it Space Jam 2. Do it with an actually brand new CGI, Pixar style, anything. Maybe a new 2D animation. We haven't got enough of those today. Actually build your Looney Tunes universe back up before you just go right into Spider-Man, where it's just gonna be, just like the first movie, a bunch of references to movies. Just like the first one, they reference Pulp Fiction, they reference anything that's hot at the time, and it's just cheap and it doesn't last the test of time. The reason why Space Jam is bad, when you go back to watch it, it doesn't last. All the jokes land flat because they're of the time. They're not something that's going to last throughout the eons of cinema.
Lon?
All right. I think there's one franchise that everybody sort of realizes it's stuck, and we don't want to keep going in the way that it's been going. it's Die Hard. So I'm picking Die Hard Year One, which is actually their pitch for how to keep going with Die Hard, which would be like prequelize it. It's like before the events of the first movie. This, not only is it continuing with the same trend of like, let's just make bigger, more explosive Die Hard movies, it actually actively undermines the series, because the whole thing that's great about that first Die Hard is that McClane is like a regular guy. He's not a superhero in the first movie. So if you do a prequel in the new style where it's super overblown, he's like a super, he's Dom from Fast and Furious jumping over helicopters and cars, you're ruining then how it links up to the first movie, which is this regular New York cop stuck in this crazy situation that he doesn't know how to deal with. Like, if you want to figure out what to do with the Die Hard series, I think it's like total reboot. Don't recast McClane, but come up with other characters, other scenarios. Trying to go back and do a McClane prequel, it's just really painful. It's going to it undermines the character that they've spent so long now defining and setting up.
All right, guys.
First of all, let me just go ahead and start with, I'll touch on Ant-Man briefly. For me, I hope it's between the Infinity Wars, because to me, Ant-Man was this great thing from Marvel that was a little different. It was a comedy. It was a heist film. It was that time.
But it didn't do either of those very well.
I thought it did
They chickened
very
out
well
on that heist in the third act and went just like, let's just do this the same old Marvel way that we always do.
The team
but
you
let's
brought
do it
in
cheaper.
with Michael Pena, like, I really enjoyed having that interaction with that team. Michael Douglas was great. Also, for me, I just think Paul Rudd is perfect in that role. Like, it's just perfect. It adds a different spice to the Marvel universe.
Yeah, he is perfect, but he also works so much more effectively in Civil War in small doses. When you get too much of him, he's inconsequential.
Only because he had that film beforehand. And Peyton Reed came out on that project, and it was a mess because Edgar Wright left, and he still made a good film because he loved the character. The reason why I want a Wasp film with Ant-Man is because now Peyton Reed, somebody who grew up loving Ant-Man, for the first time could start from day one with the script
I'm in the
and the
middle
story.
of this.
And it's a team up. It gives him somebody to work off of. It's not just a solo Ant-Man movie.
He's just coming off the biggest team up maybe in cinematic history.
It's obviously not a team up on that side. It's like give him a foil.
The fact that this is coming after Infinity War, you've already told me that the stakes aren't as big, because how could it if there's another part to this big, huge story coming?
Every movie has to ratchet up the same stakes. It can be diverse. It's a huge franchise.
It's already by default less interesting. I'm already less interested in it because
Marvel already announced that's not part 1 and part 2 anymore. They're both going to be standalone Infinity War movies. So it's not going to be like to be continued, and oh, by the way, Ant-Man went and did this heist. That's not how it's going to work.
It's one of the very few superhero movies we're coming out that has a central female hero in it.
Yeah.
If we cut it, you're just cutting more
You've got
female
other central female heroes coming out. You have Captain Marvel coming out.
I heard it. Space Jam 2. What about that?
We have to talk about Looney Tunes are still on Cartoon Network literally every day in the afternoon. So kids absolutely still know and still care about Looney Tunes. Ridiculous to be like, oh, they don't care anymore. And they did try to reboot Looney Tunes without doing a Space Jam movie. It was called Looney Tunes Back in Action, and nobody saw it.
I agree.
If they want to bring Looney Tunes back, Space Jam is the perfect property to do it, and it's totally harmless. Kids like it. It'll be fun again, and the new movie could fix the things that people don't like about the original.
Here's the thing, too. If Jurassic World has taught us anything, it's that millennials, people our age, are ready to see the shit that they loved as kids remade, reheated, and reserved to them all over again. So you're not only going to get the millennials who loved the first Space Jam as a kid going, but now they're going to take their kids for a whole new generation of Space Jam. It's a no-brainer. Why wouldn't you want to make tons of money?
And the things that don't work, if you go back and even watch Against trailer, you reference, like, the human cast isn't really that into it. It doesn't necessarily, like, look that great. It's got Pacing Rose. Like, they can fix all that. Fundamentally, there's nothing wrong about it.
Here's the thing. This isn't the question, what movie do you want to stop that you think is going to make a lot of money? I'm not saying Space Jam 2 comes out, it's not going to make any money. I'm sure it'll make some money. My problem is I don't think it'll be a good product, because you're going off of original film. That's a horrible product. It's not good film.
But
I don't see
why wouldn't the new one be able to improve on the things that didn't work?
The motivation for this is money. The motivation is not we have a new story we need to tell.
The motivation for every sequel is money.
That is not always true, but you can do a sequel and tell a good story.
Nobody's pitching Godfather 4. Like, wouldn't be motivated by money.
But I'm saying is, I want
the makers of Die Hard hate money.
Lego movie is really good. Batman Lego movie I hear is really good. You can make a smart kids movie that's funny and stand the test of time with a product like Batman, or like I try to pitch Spider-Man.
But here's the thing.
But with Looney Tunes, they've done a horrible job already.
Here's the thing. Michael Jordan, arguably, that came out of left field. Like, that guy had very little charisma. Like, why is he acting in a movie? LeBron James, like you said,
he plays plays multiple roles.
And
like,
he
he's
had
got-
more than just a minor part. He was an absolute great actual part of that movie. I want to move over to Die Hard now.
Yeah, I was just about to say Die
Let's
Hard
do
1
it.
year
Yeah,
one
I
thoughts.
guess-
I want to move
talk
over to
about this
Die
one.
Hard because here's the reason why there's two reasons why I think this Die Hard could actually be pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
One, Bruce Willis has come out in interviews saying he thinks it's a great idea. I haven't heard Bruce Willis excited about anything
Mm-hmm.
in years. The fact that he actually thinks this could be a good idea and with the bookends means he might actually show up and play in this
It
thing.
means he doesn't have to do the whole thing.
The other thing that I think could make this great is that the reason that these Die Hard movies have gotten so off track is because they keep getting bigger and more ridiculous. You take it back to the beginning, you already pare down the stakes. We don't go bigger because you can't get bigger. Die Hard in space. Now we're going back to when he's a beat cop. Now this is more in the territory of the John McClane that we already love, but now we can kind of see how all those facets started to come together for that first Die Hard movie.
And let me just say, like, the biggest problem with the last few Die Hard movies was Bruce Willis. The guy that was literally sleepwalking through the movie. You now take him out of the movie
Because
and just
Jai
put him
Courtney was killing it.
I am not saying I want Jai Courtney.
Yeah, well,
in
that's
this.
what you just said. You said the problem was Bruce Willis.
Listen, they were both problem with that movie.
Oh, okay. So
Did you
you're
see
amending. You're amending your
What I'm
statement.
saying is, you take Bruce Willis out, who is literally he's over the franchise. He doesn't really care anymore.
He's still gonna be in this.
Yeah, he's gonna bookend it. He's literally gonna be in the very
That's
beginning, the
clearly
very
why-
end.
that's
He's going to
also
clearly
why
take
he
a
likes
nap
it.
and fall asleep.
Yeah, exactly. If you get a right actor and the right director behind this, I can be excited about it. John McTiernan, who did the two best Die Hards, is now directing again. If he came back to this franchise, says, I'm going to do year one.
From the director of Rollerball.
From the director of Predator, Die Hard with a Vengeance. Die Hard is his baby. He created it. And I think he still could make a good Die Hard film if given the right opportunity. And actually, by going back, like, I agree with you, it could be a little bit more grounded, a little more level. And if you bring back John McTiernan, he's the guy that could probably do it. If you get the right talent and a good actor, like Joseph Gordon-Levitt did Looper, and I thought he did a great job in that film playing a younger Bruce Willis.
Ugh, it was
That's a
awful.
great movie.
And
And
makeup to make him look good.
I'm not saying you need to get the makeup. That was Looper
do the
specifically.
makeup.
But I'm saying you can get a good actor to play younger Bruce Willis.
Yes, theoretically,
and make it
there are
convincing.
good
With a
actors.
I could see yours working. I could see yours definitely working. In fact, I want it. I can't wait to see it.
Yeah, I'm
I
looking
love-
forward to your movie.
I love those characters that they introduced
You
in that
guys
film.
must be the only ones because the people did not show up in
that
droves.
movie-
The
that-
people did not show
All
up
right,
in
this
droves.
is your final thought on why your movies should be off of the others. Go ahead, quickly.
Okay. As I've said before, I think that Ant-Man is a fine character, but he cannot sustain his own movie. We saw that in the box office. I think it was not one of the most, like, when you look at something like Doctor Strange, that was such a weird property, but it came out the gate so strong. Guardians of the Galaxy, Ant-Man did not come off that way. So you already have a character in your repertoire that's a little bit, has handicapped from every other character you could do a solo movie, and on top of that, you stick him in between two of the most anticipated comic book movies of all time. People are not going to be as interested.
Lon.
I mean, that doesn't make any sense. It's a nice break. If you put him in between two of the most sought-after comic movies of all time, people are just going to be more interested. But, to go back to Die Hard, again, it's a story about an unlikely guy who's never been in a scenario like this, and now he finds himself in one. That's the meat and potatoes of the entire first movie. If you now give him an action-adventure movie that takes place before it, you've stomped all over that premise. And the idea, they're going to do some little gritty, disconnected from the rest of the series, beat cop, like, hard-edge movie with him in New York, you know they're not going to do that. They wouldn't call it Die Hard if they wanted to do that, because people would be like, well, this isn't like a Die Hard movie. It's going to be him getting stuck somewhere, and there's terrorists, and he's got to, like, outwit them. And it's just, we don't need more of that. We don't need more of the same. We don't need more John McClane. They ruined it. They brutalized this franchise. It's time to, like, take a break and then totally rethink.
JT?
First of all, Ant-Man, again, I'm really excited for that sequel. I think the biggest thing about that film is they reintroduced new characters I really enjoy. When I saw Civil War twice opening weekend, and every time Paul Rudd came out of that van, the audience literally cheered. They were so happy to see him because they love that character. I shit you not, they actually cheered when he came out. I was happy. Just seeing that character made me so much happier watching that movie. So, and again, I can't wait to see how Wasp plays into the Avengers. I do think they need some more female superheroes. I just, like I said, for that movie, Ant-Man is that relief from all the dark and dreary stuff
All right,
for us.
Billy lost. Don't
Billy
worry.
lost. Okay, great. Good year, whatever they call that movie. I think the reason why I don't want to see a sequel to Space Jam 2 is because I need the previous film to warrant a sequel. Not just because it made some money in the early 90s, because you put the biggest athlete in the world in the film and some sort of property which was put in there lazily. It wasn't like, there's not great Bugs Bunny jokes or Daffy. It's literally just product placement and references to other movies that were popular at the time. There's been 3 good Die Hard movies. You could argue the second one's not that good, but I enjoy it. Live Free Die Hard looked great great compared to the last one that they did. But again, they're actually going to go ahead and try to fix it by taking it back, bringing it back to its roots. If you get the right director and the right actor in that role with a good script, I think it'll be good.
Ooh, all right. That did actually make it a little tougher. Sorry, Bill, you're out. Dan.
Ant-Man is my Mark Forster.
Yeah,
Well, I mean, you even said yourself, Paul Rudd is perfect.
he's perfect.
In small doses was my point.
Yeah, well, the character's you literally, anyway.
Ant-Man's a lot of fun.
Ant-Man is currently ranks 12th out of 14 MCU movies as far as gross, below Thor, above the first Captain America and Hulk movies.
Wow.
The opening weekend was 13 out of 14, so Billy's right. It was one of the slowest out of the gate. Right now, Avengers Infinity War is scheduled for May 4th, 2018. Ant-Man for July. The following March is Captain Marvel, and then Avengers 4, so there are actually two movies between the two Avengers movies. They were right that Infinity War now is not going to be split into two, at least by title. Justin Lin was attached to direct Space Jam 2 last year, starring LeBron James. Not much update since that.
He probably rewatched the first one and said, ooh.
Die Hard Year 1 was announced in 2015, but has not really moved forward since then. Bruce Willis called it a really cool idea. I'm very happy about it. And as somebody who saw 50 Shades Darker last night, I would be really happy if 50 Shades Freed got completely wiped off the face of the planet, because that movie is terrible.
Worse than the first one?
So much worse.
Wow.
Oh, yay. Now I'm kind of excited.
Not in a fun way. Not in a fun way.
Just it gets lost in the lore.
Oh god.
Too much world building.
It's like a subpar. It's like if an episode of Empire wrote an episode of Empire, but not as entertaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's amazing.
That's what to
Woo,
see.
good review. There you go. I think you just sold a lot of tickets, Dan.
No, I hope not. If anything I said enticed you to go see that movie, ignore it and don't.
All right. Based on the arguments, sorry, Billy, you were out. I mean, you sort of even were saying he's good. I get you were saying in small doses, but compared to the other two, I think you're out. So we came down between Space Jam 2 and Die Hard, and man, I was leaning away, but then with the final arguments, it did help go there. I gotta say, I was leaning with Lon. But I didn't get enough passion. JT then really came with a passionate closer for me on Space Jam 2 about the product, and then sort of saying, well, there were some fun sequels if we went back. So he came back from behind. I got to give it to JT.
Space Jam's horrible.
I thought you had it, Lon.
I
You got a little repetitive there.
Space
and,
Jam's a great choice.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's a great choice.
I didn't hear enough hitting their arguments back. Dan, what did they say on the poll?
Let me check the poll. Sorry, so much fact-checking in that round. I got completely swamped. Right now, 52% say Die Hard Year 1 should be killed, 39% voting for Space Jam 2, only 9% behind Ant-Man and the Wasp.
You guys will get it on the drive home. It'll
None of my
more than
13% were also part of that 9%. None. No
Look, I'm not
overlap.
like it's not my favorite one I'm looking forward to, but you want to see that? You want to lose that over Die Hard and Space Jam 2? Honestly, the round's over.
For the
I don't
purpose
believe you.
for the purpose of this fight, I did. No, like Space Jam 2 was
You
like
fought hard, but
Space Jam 2.
thank
I
you.
saw that. I was like, fuck. Like, yep, that's right.
Those are both very good answers. That was a tough one. All right, round 4. Here we go. I want to see your answers to this one. The question is, what mainstream studio franchise would you most want to see Quentin Tarantino join? That's right. Screw original fun Tarantino movies.
Yeah, man.
We're a
I'm
studio
done with
exec. He owes us money. We get to put him on any franchise we want. What are we sticking him on? We're back to you, JT.
This was a hard question. There's a lot of ones that went in my mind, but I ended up with The Expendables. And I'm going to tell you why. First of all, Tarantino loves genre. Kill Bill was a love letter to the martial art films that he grew up with. And he loves him some 70s and 80s action films. He even was quoted saying, in a very early draft of Inglourious Basterds, his dream project would be have Bruce Willis, Arnold Schwarzenegger, and Sylvester Stallone to be in the film. Now, over the decades, it changed to something totally different and became Glorious Bastards that we all know and love. But originally, he said he would love to see those three, his three favorite 80s action stars, in a film together. So again, this guy's going to come at this project with some love. And I trust nobody more to make a love letter to 80s action movies than Quentin Tarantino, the guy who literally has... this guy schedules films at New Beverly. Like, he bought the theater a couple years ago, and it's my go-to place for 80s action films. You want to see some Dolph Lundgren films? Go to New Beverly Cinema, because he owns 35mm prints of all these films. He literally collects them, watches them, and puts them on for the public to go see. So if I'm going to see this, I think Stallone did fine with the first film. The second one was like... they're enjoyable films. But if you want to bring it to the next level, bring in Tarantino, who knows that genre better than anybody and loves nothing more than to write for actors that he grew up loving. The reason why John Travolta was in Pulp Fiction is because he loved Blowout. It was one of his favorite films. A small film, but something that he loved and he could not wait to write for. So for Tarantino to write for these guys, I think it would be a home run.
Lon.
So I went a little different way with it. I went Alien, and I'll tell you why. I think a lot of what makes the Alien films sort of tick is it's these sort of blue-collar guys. It's space, and it's sci-fi, and it's the future, but it's also these communities of, like, everyday sort of people, and they're on these ships, and they're sort of surviving, and it's like a job. Like, in the first movie, they're almost like they're sort of space truckers in a way, and that's what Tarantino does so well, is go in these communities and give the dialogue a real specificity, make you really care about those characters, so that when he does start ratcheting up the tension, when there is an alien on the loose, and people are being killed, you really are invested, maybe more so than you are than in some of the other Alien movies, where a lot of the sort of background characters are a little bit more disposable. You're going to have these really well-defined human characters, and that includes villain characters. It's been a long time since we've had a memorable human villain in an Alien movie. There's always the monsters are the villains, but Tarantino would be able to really do those like Weyland-Yutani executives or other sort of enemy villain human characters and make them really fleshed out, realize more like, you know, what we're used to seeing in films like Inglourious Basterds or Django. And lastly, what I would say, as long as we're talking about Inglourious Basterds, Django is more recent films, a lot of what he's doing, especially with dialogue, slowly, deliberately ratcheting up the tension. I mean, so much of Inglourious Basterds is, let's lay the groundwork and then let this really long scene play out as these characters sort of wait for the inevitable. Like, am I going to be found out? Is the lie going to be revealed? What's going to happen next? And that's an Alien movie. I mean, that's what it is. It's confined, claustrophobic scenes with all these characters waiting around for sort of like, when is the hit going to come and where from? And Tarantino would just masterfully realize those sequences for sort of unbelievable tension. It'd be the perfect franchise for him to finally explore like sort of sci-fi, horror, all these genres he's never kind of gotten to.
Billy.
All right, I think we are kind of at a crossroads when it comes to the James Bond franchise. And for something that is constantly redefining itself, I think Quentin Tarantino definitely would have so much to play with in the James Bond world. I think the things that were kind of missing from Spectre and maybe the last couple James Bond movies is that, you know, there's no wit to James Bond anymore. He's so cold. He's James Bourne at this point. And I think if you can have Quentin Tarantino not only giving these meaty monologues to these villains, which have kind of been lackluster. Look, we got Christoph Waltz in the last one, and I can't even remember what his name is. Most people are like, oh yeah, I forgot he was in that. But imagine Quentin Tarantino writing this meaty dialogue for these villains, giving them these monologues that truly put them over the top, make them memorable, give James Bond some freaking humor, give him some character, give him some wit, and on top of that, bring the signature Quentin Tarantino action and violence and the spy genre, something that he really hasn't had a chance to play with yet. I think Quentin Tarantino and James Bond is a home run.
All right, it's 3 genres we haven't seen him tackle.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
I actually like all 3 of these, so you don't have to keep selling me. Tell me
Gotcha.
why it's more appealing and fun for him to do than the other 2.
For one, James Bond, every single James Bond movie has been directed by a Brit. I think it's something.
So?
I think it's something where they tap into that culture because they grew up that way.
What does
For
it
me,
matter?
What it matters to me is I just feel like he does it. He's like one of the most American directors there is. That guy is like the
So
quintessential
you're
American.
basically, you're basically, thank you for
No,
saying that this is a great new way to rejuvenate James Bond. Do something a
I
little
don't think
different
it
than
needs
what
to
we're
be.
used to be
I don't
seeing.
think it needs to be rejuvenated. I think Sam Mendes made 2 really great James Bond films.
I think he made
And
one pretty decent James
one
Bond
a
movie,
great one and a good one,
not
and
so good
Martin
one.
Campbell made probably the best one. Also, Daniel Craig, and if he is still the same Bond, I don't see him using Quentin Tarantino dialogue. I'm not going to see any monologues from this guy. I mean, Tarantino, he just doesn't fit the way Tarantino writes people. He writes people that have more quippy lines. I mean, his stuff is like the classy gentleman who's laying ladies and laying out bad guys. I just don't see Tarantino's style fitting with that franchise. I don't think he's shown that he could really tackle just that kind of spy. There's nothing really...
He hasn't tackled the spy genre yet. That's exactly
I think
the
there's
point.
a reason, because I don't think it really fits his style of film directing.
We've absolutely seen that he can put over the bad guy in these monologues. Take that scene. He knows how to direct, like Christoph Waltz in the beginning of Inglourious
I'm not
Basterds.
saying
Imagine if
he's
you
not gonna
took
write good
that,
dialogue.
took it out and put it in a James Bond movie. He builds this this tension within a Bond villain, making us care about a Bond villain, but he can also give those great Reservoir Dogs like back and forth lines to not only Bond, but also Bond supporting characters like Felix Leiter. Let's make him that's a character I think Quentin Tarantino absolutely would have fun with. With Bond girls, we know that Quentin Tarantino knows how to use women correctly in these types of movies. We're not going to get a damsel in distress. We're not going to get a bimbo. We're going to get a strong counterpart to James Bond.
I think those characters are too one note for Tarantino to write for.
Well, when you talk about
especially
like
in that genre,
you were saying like, oh, it's finally like a witty, quippy Bond. Like we've had that. It's the Roger Moore sort of Pierce Brosnan one that everybody's sick of. Like these Daniel Craig ones resonated with audiences because they were getting away from the like, oh, it's shocking, like one-liner Bond, which doesn't really. It sort of clashes today.
Casino Royale
He's the quiet
was great,
soldier.
but ever since then, with Skyfall, I guess, but like with Quantum of Solace, you have diminishing returns.
Well,
Spectre was
trying to make it like an action movie.
Spectre made a shitload of money.
Yeah, Spectre was like, and
Spectre is not a great movie.
Well, but Spectre is more like the throwback Bonds you're talking about. In fact, you said like I couldn't even know.
Look,
Christoph
here's the
Waltz's
thing.
name. It's Blofeld. He's playing the classic Bond
Here's the
villain.
thing. Expendables doesn't need to be rejuvenated
we'll talk about
and redefined. Alien. The one thing that Quentin Tarantino is definitely not that Alien needs is subtle.
Yeah.
Quentin Tarantino with the horror movie is going to be the least subtle person. He does not have the patience. He does not have the restraint to make
Inglourious Bastards is all patience. It's like 12, 15-minute sequences leading to the one piece of conflict that happens.
That's
the
not
entire movie is building tension and patience.
In my Alien film, and also
that's what Alien films
Ridley
are.
Scott set a template when he made the first Alien film visually. Something that every director after him has kind of had to try to match. But I would argue that
James Cameron totally took a different tack on it in the next movie, the very next movie.
The Tarantino movie you're describing is going to be closer to what Ridley Scott made in the first film. And I don't see
in some ways.
I don't see Tarantino be able to match that.
I mean,
kind
Tarantino
of
would not do anything ponderous and boring like Prometheus. You're right. He would take it back to when the series was, more interesting and
Tarantino is not going to be able to flex his Quentin Tarantino muscles in a genre like Alien, in a franchise like Alien, because then it's not going to be Alien anymore.
He's done exploitation movies. He's done samurai movies. He's done a variety.
But these are all his original creations. He's not playing in someone else's sandbox like Alien that has such a defined aesthetic quality to it.
For me, Alien's about atmosphere.
You're talking about James Bond. What could be a more defined?
James Bond is so serialized with so many different creators and so many different takes on it. It is made. James Bond is a series made for people to come in, do their spin, and then get out. Alien is not.
The question was, what film does Tarantino? Do you want to see him join what franchise? Correct. I want him to join a franchise that he absolutely loves.
Join a franchise that nobody likes or cares about.
That's why he should do it, because he's the one guy I would trust to do it.
What a waste to give him an Expendables movie.
This guy, you're talking about the guy who directed the episode of CSI because he loved the show.
We could have Tarantino memorably write dialogue.
If I go to an Expendables movie, JT, if I go to an Expendables movie, I don't want a big meaty dialogue-character-driven thing. That's what makes Mickey Rourke's monologue in the first one so out of place. Like, why are you acting in this movie? I just want to see these old-timers shoot and blow shit up. And Quentin Tarantino is not, like, we don't need him in that movie.
Tarantino has the brains to take this film and take what we love. The reason why Expendables are love letters to the 80s action movies and 70s action movies in some ways is because the people that go see it recognize things that they love. Nobody does that better than Tarantino.
Expendables is a one note, that was fun, and we've seen that people have already lost interest in this concept.
Think about how flat these movies must be if you, the world's greatest Sylvester Stallone fan, are like, the second one's all right. Whatever. Like, if these were even halfway decent, you would be singing their praises from the rooftops right now.
Again, the reason why I go to these movies, and I think they're good, I don't think they're great, is because of my love of the films that they're spoofing off.
Alien is a great franchise that it's still vibrant. People are still interested in. They're still excited about new ones. Why would you waste Tarantino on Expendables, a franchise literally nobody cares about?
Because
they can't even muster up another one.
Tarantino will love it more than anybody else that's going to go watch that movie.
Yeah, but he also loved Death Proof more than anybody who went to go see that movie, and it's like everybody's least favorite Tarantino movie.
Because you're comparing it to all of our films, which were
that's what people would do with Expendables.
But that's what I want from him. I don't want him to go make another Tarantino movie in James Bond world. I don't want him to make another Tarantino movie in Alien. I want to make an Expendables movie that's part of a franchise.
You just want him in a different franchise. That's all you're saying.
No, I want him to,
Barney Ross really came alive for me after hearing all that Tarantino dialogue.
I want him to play to the genre that he loves more than almost any other genre.
Oh my God, are you saying that James Bond is a genre that Quentin Tarantino's like, nah, that's not really my thing?
I guarantee such a formula. It doesn't give him the freedom to
Alien isn't? Are you kidding me?
Not as much. It's been really
Besides,
different.
Alien has been beaten
first
into the
4
ground. God
Alien movies-
himself could come down from heaven, and I don't think that he can make Alien worthwhile anymore. James Bond is something that people always want to see. They have their James Bond. They have their version of James Bond, whether it's Roger Moore or Pierce Brosnan or Daniel Craig. It's time for someone else to bring a new vision to it.
Closing arguments. Those
let's
are
go.
Billy's. Go ahead, Lon.
There are the four sort of original quadrilogy before it got the Predators and Prometheus. The 4 main Alien movies were all very visionary directors, all doing really different things to expand the formula. Now, they didn't all work, but the fact is that that's a template for a new director to come in and do their own thing, just like a Genet or like a David Fincher or like a James Cameron. Like Quentin Tarantino is a guy like that with his own vision and his own ability to sort of carve out this universe and make it his own, really integrate his style in with Alien. I mean, I think I already talked about a lot of the sort of fundamentals of like the building of tension and the introducing of the characters, why he'd work in this specific format, but it's exactly in line with those first 4 movies to do a 5th one with Quentin Tarantino.
JT?
I'm going to go ahead and say, like if you said Christopher Nolan, I'd love to see what he would do with James Bond film. I think Tarantino, just the way he writes and the way he frames, the composition of his shots, just nothing about any of his past films screams to me, this is a guy that needs to make a James Bond film. Same thing goes for Alien. Alien for me is more about the atmosphere and the visuals. I never went to Alien movies thinking, oh my God, what a great monologue, what a great script. I just went for the atmosphere and the horror and the tension and the sci-fi. I don't think that's going to play to Tarantino's strengths. Tarantino knows 80s and 70s action movies better than almost any human, I argue with you, on this planet. And it'll be something different. He's not going to go ahead and make a Tarantino Expendables movies. He's going to make a movie that the Expendables is supposed to be, that was supposed to be, that you thought you were going to get for the first 3 times, and he's going to do it better than anybody else I can imagine doing it. Because Quentin Tarantino loves those movies. He loves those actors. He says he wanted to work with them since the day he's been directing.
Dan?
Well, Quentin Tarantino, as came out a couple years ago, was famously lobbying very hard to direct the Casino Royale reboot that they did. He wanted to direct Pierce Brosnan in that role. They decided to completely redo the franchise, so they did not go with Tarantino for that job. Quick fact check, JTE said that everyone who's ever directed a James Bond movie is British. Lee Tamahori and Martin Campbell are from New Zealand. Roger Spottiswoode is British-Canadian, and Lon's favorite, Mark Forster, was born in West Germany. So they're not all British.
I should have said no Americans directed it.
No Americans directed a James Bond movie. So many people online. Matt Lafferty says, let's see Tarantino tackle X-Men. Nolan Dean said he'd like to see, and also Jonathan Peck wanted to see him direct something within the John Wick universe. That was probably the one that I saw the most often. Megan W. says Batman. Why I Love Movies says Blade. Great vampire writing along with great sword action sequences. And Jazzy Goose says Friday the 13th, 80s slasher pastiche. Scream, but darker and more violent. And Andy, I'm going to have to do the poll. The poll is literally tied right now between the top 2 choices. So afterwards, we'll see if one of them is pulled ahead.
Yeah, this one's actually tough. And the closing arguments helped seal the deal for me. I think, yeah. While I love the passion, JT, I just think it's sort of a weird, wasted opportunity for him to continue such a cheesy sort of thing. I saw sort of more visionary, fun opportunities with Bond and Alien based on the arguments. So it came down between Lon and Billy. And this was genuinely tough. The subtle argument of he can't really do subtle, sort of fair. But there's just something interesting, I think, of the fact that, Lon, you did a good job of saying there's a strict formula to Bond, which he'd have to sort of fall into, where then you did, whether it was right or wrong, Alien films really do change every time you make one. And this idea of this building of tension, the ratcheting of the tension, and letting him do that sort of claustrophobic horror version, it's definitely a new thing we haven't seen him do. So you sort of sold me. By the end, I got to give Lon the point.
All right,
Lon's in there.
Shutout, yeah.
I thought it was going to be Billy. I'll be honest. I thought it was Billy had it. And
I thought Billy had it too.
That was a great closing argument.
You did have a good closer. So that wasn't a pity point. You earned that one.
I appreciate that. And I would love to see
all 3 of them.
All 3, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm with
Well,
that.
a little.
I would see it, but I just feel like I'd rather see him try something different. Dan?
Let's see if the poll has settled on a winner. Oh, right now, and this could change at any second. 37% say James Bond. 36% vote for The Expendables. 27% for Alien. So all three ideas very appealing to our Twitter
They're
audience.
really not going to like my next answer either. They're really.
This next one,
They
I'm
are
scared.
really not going to like my next answer, you guys.
Point out, yeah.
All right, here we go. This
Holy
one's a
crap.
barn burner.
Oh my god!
I thought this would be fun with you three.
I'm going to need to take a new identity
Yes.
after this.
Yeah, you might.
scared for my life.
But no, own it, and you're going first.
I am.
Question
I will own
5. This one comes from Radu Moriscu on Twitter. Sorry.
Rasika?
It'll be up there, I hope, because I don't know how to say it. Mr. Mercer. Anyway, the question is, what is the most overrated movie of all time? We're going with you, Lon.
Andy, what if I told you that it was The Matrix? Hear me out.
Is that your choice?
Yes, my choice is The Matrix. Here's the thing about saying a movie's overrated. You got to pick a movie that's truly beloved. And The Matrix is beloved by almost everyone except me. And now I'm going to get into why. It's mainly a movie that is remembered as for its aesthetic choices. The style, the cinematography, the effects. And I'm here to tell you, except for a few memorable moments that were genuinely sort of trailblazing in its moment, they're not that good. It's not a great looking movie. In fact, it's kind of an ugly movie. It has this amazing opportunity to introduce you to this future ruined world that machines have destroyed. We've seen that beautifully done in other movies, the Terminator franchise sort of most memorably. And what is the real world of The Matrix? Does anybody even remember? It's like a lot of garbage on the ground. There's some smoke. There's some squid looking kind of monsters. It's ugly. It's not memorable. And you can tell because if this was a really memorable looking world, it would be everywhere. You would see toys. We would have toys of the Matrix ships. We would have posters in your house of what the real world looks like in the Matrix, but it's so flat and uninteresting that nobody even bothers to collect it. And just the costumes themselves became sort of a cultural property, but they're boring. The whole movie is just really sort of flat and doesn't have a lot of inspiration. Now we got to move on and talk about the premise because that's a lot of what other people remember. This may have seemed great when you were 13, you'd never read a philosophy book, you hadn't gone to high school or college yet, and it seems like it's real deep. But once you've sort of thought about the world to the point that you're an adult, there's nothing interesting at The Matrix. It's basically like Rene Descartes, but for 2 hours, and it's Lawrence Fishburne telling you about it instead of a professor. The dialogue is hacky and cringy and bad. They introduce a few ideas and then repeat them endlessly until it's dull, until it's drilled into your head. And there's not, the final point I'll make for the intro, there's not a single fleshed out three-dimensional character. Do you guys care about Tom Anderson? Do you care if Neo and Trinity really fall in love and make that connection? No, it's just a bunch of ideas thrown at you, hoping to get you until the point where they start shooting and then you won't care anymore. The Matrix is overrated.
Whoo! Billy.
Guys, we're in a crisis right now. We are in a nostalgia crisis. And I think if you trace all the nostalgia love back to one movie, again, this is most overrated, not the worst. The most overrated movie of all time is E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Now, this is at best, decent kids movie, and it's basically the old Yeller story, but instead of a dog, you get this alien that looks like Yoda fucked a California raisin, and I'm all of a sudden supposed to be in love with this thing, but really, at its core, this is Steven Spielberg trying to manipulate every emotion. It's like he is sitting next to you with a gun pointed at you saying, "Are you crying yet? Are you crying yet?" It is full of product placement. This is one big, long, sappy, saccharine commercial, and I have no idea why this is not culturally significant. It's not. It's great. Every time I say I don't like E.T., people say, "Oh man, you have no heart. I watched this when I was a kid." I was like, I'm gonna stop you right there. You loved it when you were a kid. I loved Chef Boyardee when I was a kid, but guess what? I've grown up.
Shit on Chef Boyardee.
Delicious.
But to call Chef Boyardee fine Italian dining is what people are doing with E.T.
Okay. JT.
I feel like I need to apologize for my opponents first and foremost. Two of the best films of their decade.
Let's say they were ballsy with their choices.
They're
Where
ballsy.
are you going?
They're wrong, but they're ballsy. I'm going to go with, to me, what is easily the most overrated film of all time because it's the highest grossing film of all time, and I'm going with Avatar. Avatar was a cool trick that people went and saw in theaters. The problem is there's not a good story. There's not good characters. It was literally a trick that tricked everybody to go see this movie in theaters to experience 3D for the first time. Then you know what happened? They got excited. They bought it on Blu-ray. They sat down and watched it on their 42-inch TV. They said, what the hell? Why is this the greatest grossing film of all time? Because the story is lazy. It's just recycled parts from earlier films like Dances with Wolves. I mean, it's just boring. You watch it, there's not one character when you watch Avatar that stays with you. You guys have so many great characters and moments that it boggles my mind that you would pick it. The Matrix was a milestone film for not only just like as far as like action, but like special effects. That alone for me earns it a place in some of the all-time great sci-fi action films. Yours has some of the most touching moments in the best John Williams score he probably has ever done. And there's moments of pure cinematic joy. There's no cinematic joy watching Avatar on your TV at home. You just see a lot of cool special effects, which honestly in 10 years will feel pretty dated. And it'll feel like a really bad animated film, like Ferngully, but in CG.
Here's the thing.
Yes, please, go ahead.
Everything that you just said about Avatar is everything everybody says about Avatar. To be overrated, you need to be put on a pedestal that nobody can really figure out why is it on this pedestal. I don't know anybody that puts Avatar on any best of list anywhere.
Your movie's a great answer of what movie should you only watch on like a big screen. Because it's true that Avatar loses something when you go to home video, but it was pure cinematic joy when you saw it on the big screen. In IMAX 3D, it was amazing. It blew everybody away. People went to see it 8 times. It's not overrated like people think Avatar is so great now. It's overrated. It's rated.
I'm not saying Avatar is a worse movie. I'm saying it's an okay movie that got overblown and overhyped and was basically just
it made a lot of money because of the 3D and the technology.
Nobody is still talking about Avatar.
They're literally making Avatar Land in like Disney theme parks.
Perfect for. Like it should be made into an interactive land because the bioluminescent forest looks cool.
I want to go to Star Wars Land because I love the characters and the sets. I'd go to Harry Potter Land
because
because
people a year are going to go to Avatar Land.
Listen to me.
If you're talking about
Avatar Land is just a bunch of bright lights and plants. Go to Rainforest Cafe if you really want to see that.
But here's the thing: you just said that Avatar is essentially Ferngully dressed up. Why is nobody saying that E.T. is essentially just Lassie or any boy with a dog trope, just dressed up as something different with an ugly alien that looks like a penis?
You asked the question of like what is significant, like why was E.T. considered trailblazing, and I'll explain it to you. I'll tell you.
Please, somebody explain this to me.
It was taking this very natural, lived-in group of kids that didn't seem like Hollywood kids. They didn't seem like actor funny, quippy kids. They seemed like real kids. They were going through real problems. They were lonely. They were picked on at school. Their parents were getting divorced. These are real themes, and kids' movies didn't used to be that way.
But
kids
you had that. You had that in so many.
It was like the Shaggy Dog, and what E.T. was doing was saying, "No, let's give you this really realistic kids who are going through real things in their life, and we'll give them this genuinely emotional story to play out." And that's why E.T.'s shouldn't look like slick and like a great special effect. It should look sort of odd, sort of weird. He needs help. He needs Elliot. That's the whole story. He's this sort of out of place, ugly kind of looking character because he really needs Elliot. He needs somebody to take care of him, and that's what the whole story is about. And in terms of like, you could see the exact through line from something like E.T. to Stranger Things to all these sort of properties that we've since had that do that same thing of like, let's take these kids and really make you feel like you're part of that group of kids.
But here's the thing with E.T. First of all, E.T. drives me bonkers because right out the gate, this movie can't follow its own logic. E.T. has these great powers that work whenever the script wants his powers to work. Really? You're telling me you can float this freaking bike across the moon? If you can't float your ass up to your spaceship in the first 5 minutes, then what is the point of having telekinesis?
Well, he's moving an object.
Do you want a whole prequel movie of
where is this?
Dan, can we call Botanicus?
Yeah, can we get Botanicus? Oh, he's not happy. Let me say something.
Here's the thing. You guys are using the frog DNA in Jurassic Park to fill in the holes of where this movie fails because there's absolutely nowhere in this movie.
Frog DNA.
There's absolutely nowhere in this movie where that makes any lick of sense. Besides, the tone of this movie is really all over the place. It's really dark and pessimistic and fear-based that adults are scary and all these people are going to come take you away. But at the same time, it's so sappy.
I don't know if you saw this. Did you watch Mac and Me or something? What did you watch? I don't think you watched E.T.
Let's talk about The Matrix.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Let's talk about The Matrix.
Talk about The Matrix.
First of all, The Matrix was one of the great twists in the film that I've ever seen. It's up there with The Sixth Sense. The twist where he literally dies and comes back and becomes the one. It was one of the most stand-up cheer moments.
You thought Keanu Reeves dies at the end of The Matrix?
Well, listen, the movie was so good that it brought me to the possibility that he might actually have died.
No, you
Here's
did not.
the thing.
I don't believe you. That's just a lot. Can we fact check that? Did anybody get to the end of Matrix and be like, I bet Neo died?
Good twist ending.
Are you saying Keanu can't die in a movie?
Here's the thing.
John Wick.
Not in that movie.
This ain't John Wick.
Yeah, he can't
Up
die in
until
that
this
one
point,
either.
if you see Keanu Reeves in a movie, or really a lot of action movies at the time, let's look at Die Hard, let's look at some of the other big action movies, Speed, you're going into that movie because you want thrills and you want to turn your brain off. They took you into this movie saying, we've got guns, we've got explosions, come in here. And then they delivered on that tenfold by showing you something you hadn't seen. But on top of that, they said, but wait a second, we can also deliver you a story that also makes you think, that also makes you question your reality.
You thought a lot about The Matrix. Oh, what am I in a simulation?
Are you telling me that you didn't walk out of this movie having conversations with your friends, thinking about like bigger things like, oh shit, how do we know we're not asleep? How do we know we're not plugged into the Matrix right now?
Those are hundreds of years old concepts. The Matrix didn't make
And
that up.
that's the beauty of it. They took hundreds of years old concepts that anyone else would be like,
And just
that's
repeated
boring,
them in a
and
movie.
they put them
There's so
into a
many
movie and they made
movies.
them accessible for people in a way
They
that was
stood on the shoulders of
groundbreaking.
other movies and were like, hey, we're going to do this too. Like Hong Kong action movies, they were just like, well, what if we have a scene like that where everybody runs through a lobby shooting two guns at each other? And like sort of ponderous philosophy, they're like, hey, let's look at every 70s sci-fi movie and take some of
Your
those ideas.
movie
Like
was
Silent Running has these ideas in it from like 25 years before.
Your film had groundbreaking special effects.
Bullet Time, and Bullet, which was already in a Gap ad, as I
But
discussed
nobody
earlier
had
today.
ever used
Use
it to
it
the extent that they had in
go
the
like
context.
this. He goes
In the
backwards.
context that they used
And
it
they make
in.
you wait 80 minutes into the movie to get to it. 80 minutes of Lawrence Fishburne standing like this,
That's
even though
because
nobody
you
does.
don't know what the Matrix
Like,
is. You're
you
just
gotta open your mind, Neo. You gotta free your mind. Like, okay,
Matrix
like, let's
was
wait.
one of the few
Got
films-
another. How about
The
what if we had
Matrix-
one of those monologues, but in front of a plain white background where you can't. There's nothing even behind.
How
them.
amazing
Wouldn't
is that to
be
go
brilliant?
to? What a stark contrast. What a way to wake you up to
And
go
talking
into
about
this
nothing.
movie with all these
Nothing.
crazy sci-fi
Hey,
visuals,
what if we build our
and they
movie with
strip it all
nothing?
away.
All right, Avatar.
Is this closing arguments?
Yeah, I want to. We got.
Okay.
We focus on ET. We focus on Matrix.
Listen,
Last little
Avatar has made more money than any other film. Was nominated for Best Picture. Your films, The Matrix, I could watch today, and the special effects hold up because
No,
they
it
were
doesn't
so
look that
well
great.
done.
You're remembering it, but it looks really cheesy,
Hell
a
no,
lot of
they
the-
actually use the cameras. They use the technology where they go wrap around Keanu Reeves. Still looks good to this day. Avatar will not look good 10 years from
Everything
now.
looks
It will
sickly
look
green.
sedated. It will look bad unless James Cameron does a special edition Blu-ray where he puts it through his processor and redefines all the images. It's not going to look good.
JT, people-
There's moments. This is my closing. There are moments.
It's not closing.
Oh, it's open.
So,
Sorry.
look, people
There's-
went to see that movie because it was an event. They had to see what this new 3D looking thing was. This is not a movie that people are going to be saying 20 years from now, like, oh my God, Avatar, that's on the best 100
Yeah,
sci-fi.
'cause it's overrated.
It's not.
No,
nobody
that's
is
the
putting that movie
definition
on a
of
pedestal.
overrated.
If a movie gets nominated for Best Picture and it's not a good movie, to me that is overrated.
People are not putting this on the pedestal. They went to go see
wait,
it
no
because
bad
of the
movies have been
curiosity
nominated for an
factor.
Oscar?
Not the greatest one. No,
Sorry.
of course that's. But
One
No,
more-
look, we accepted the answer,
Yeah.
but
One
I
more
think
I gotta-
they have a point. They're arguing, they're arguing more
I see,
steam
what you- but
films.
their movies are so damn good that it makes
That's
no
not an
sense for
argument.
them to
I
say
think
that they're
it's good.
overrated.
One more thing I got to talk about in terms of you said it's had a bad story, but the knock on it isn't that the story's bad; it's that the story's been used before. Like the Pocahontas story, it's pretty similar to that. The Fern Gully story, it's pretty similar. That doesn't mean it's a bad story. That just means it's an archetypal story that he's using
This
to
movie's
tell the
getting
sort of larger
This
world.
movie's getting 5 sequels because it made that much money.
Watch those sequels.
It'll
If they
probably
get
be 4 or
anywhere
5.
close to that first Avatar movie,
This is a mess. Dan, before
It's a
I
tough one.
try and. Ugh.
Please attack. This guy about ET. I wish I could have let him fight for me, just for that round.
I wish I could have too, my friend. A lot of people wondering what happened to Billy as a young child.
See, that's the only thing that people can say. They don't want to listen to anything I have to say.
Oh, I listened to every word you had to say, Billy.
listened.
Boy, that's an opinion.
No fan on the couch.
But I'm just here to check the facts, and the whole round is effing opinions. So
Yeah,
there's not really
it's
much
all
I can do
opinions.
over here
True.
except just stew silently and wait for the judgment.
How are they stewing online?
A lot of people just everybody seems to have a movie that they think is overrated. I'm
everyone.
seeing Scarface. I'm seeing
Scarface
Napoleon
is
Dynamite.
good.
I'm seeing some people think Zootopia. A lot of people think that Frozen is very overrated.
I thought about
Not of all
Frozen.
time, though.
I thought
Not of
about
all
Frozen.
time.
Everybody had. No one seems to be kind of coalescing behind one. Everybody's got a movie that
I'll
they
tell you
think
what
is
other one I
vastly
thought
overrated.
of. Shawshank Redemption. I had considered it. I
Should
considered
have
it.
gone there.
Should have.
All right.
Crazy.
I mean, this was rough because
Yeah.
I agree with Billy and Lon in that JT kind of picked the easier one because it's
He's just
it's
Right.
overrated, it's
Easier.
accepted, but they were going so I was listening very closely to Lon and Billy, but my God, what are you guys talking about? I wanted to hear sort of an argument that sort of justified it, and then I was leaning with you, Lon, because you made this whole argument about how it borrowed from things, but then you literally just told JTE that it's okay that his film borrowed things.
No, the story.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
the
that's
story.
what you
It was
said
very
blew my mind, 'cause
specific.
you
No,
just-
it was very specific. That's
not
a
what
very
argued. You
point.
just said it was okay with
He
this.
said, no, he said it was a
True.
bad
No, you
story.
did it. You did just do
No,
that.
it's a- okay. We'll save it for after the fight.
Anyway, and then the ET argument, but I was trying to listen and be objective there, but then Alon really hits you back with the reasons of why it's really a good film, of the realism, all the things you're sort of saying, if it's dark, it's like kind of is why it's good because it's more realistic. So there were problems with everybody, and then I think you picked an okay movie, JT. Like I don't think it's beloved like the other two. So most overrated. Because we allowed it, I got to give it to JTE just based off those arguments because I don't think either Lon or Billy really gave me a good reason as to why Matrix or ET are overrated, except for your own personal preference.
There are people out there that love Avatar. I'm not
Sure,
going to say
so
they're not out
JT,
there.
you're in with a lead. That is 3 points over
So should we go into witness protection
Lon and
together?
Billy.
I mean, I could have done so much more to like some of the greatest moments from ET and the Matrix.
After
We
the
could have.
fights.
All right, let's do it after
Afterwards.
the fight. Let's get to our speed run. But before we do, Dan Merle, do you have those Nature Box samples over there?
I got
Because
so
I'd like
many.
to thank today's sponsor once again. Nature Box is back, and I want to thank them so much for doing that. And again, you can go
Give me one of these
to
sticker doodles.
naturebox.com/screenjunkies to save 50% off your first order, exclusive to Screen Junkies fans. So go check it out. Some delicious snacks you can choose from, delivered right to your door. We love Nature Box. I can't wait to have some of those after the show.
This is legit delicious.
I know. I
have
want
to
those
say.
sticker doodles, dude.
Why did you leave all this
Throw me
over
the
here?
sticker doodles.
Here,
I want
have
sticker
these.
doodles.
Take them away from me. Here.
Yeah, throw them up here. I'm gonna do it for real. Nice. All right. Ooh, yeah, these look good. All right, NatureBox, we love you. You got the code right there. NatureBox.com/ScreenJunkies. Go there, sign up, and give them a try. All healthy stuff. All right, speed round. Here it is.
We gotta do a tiebreaker.
Tiebreaker first.
Yeah.
They're all on the same page. Sorry.
I'm
This
curious,
is not
Dan,
for a
what was
point.
the poll on that last one, real quick?
Oh yeah, what was
Oh, the poll was
That was overwhelming.
58% Avatar, 24% ET, and 18% Matrix.
By logic, that means Matrix is the most open.
Yeah, so what happened to 24% of other people's
lowest
childhoods?
reviewed.
All right, I'm going to ask you both. Would you like a creative one or a more straightforward one?
Dealer's choice.
Dealers?
Okay, no
You
preference.
You
okay.
pick. You pick.
I'm going to go with the more straightforward one. We'll save the creative for later. Here we go. Speed round. Answer quickly.
Tiebreaker.
Here we go. Best movie dad.
Oh, that's tough.
Clark Griswold.
Oh my God. I couldn't even tell you my name right now. Yeah, this is.
You have until I finish this cookie.
That's good, right?
Mr. Incredible.
Oh, there you go. We got it in there.
All
Still
right.
like the cookies, so you're still in.
Wow. Squeeze that one out. I would say.
JT. I mean, that's delicious.
Yeah, dude. You know,
All right, we got Clark versus Mr. Incredible. Lon, time starts when you begin speaking.
Smells like
I
Christmas.
mean, Clark Griswold is sort of the ultimate movie dad. He's the archetypal movie dad. The whole character is sort of designed to be like a stand-in for John Hughes' dad and sort of represent the dads of everybody watching, like these memories of going on vacation with your kids and taking the family out. He's so sympathetic, he's so relatable, but he's also kind of a jerk. And it's that great, amazing balance of being sort of, we relate to him and yet we're also repulsed by him.
All right, Billy.
I think Clark Griswold is such a jerk that makes him not such a great dad. Sometimes he is such a goof that you don't want him as your dad. Mr. Incredible, he's somebody that you know cares about his family more than anything else. I think Clark Griswold sometimes cares about himself more than anything else. And I think Mr. Incredible also has the will to protect his family. He's got just a better family to want to protect than Clark.
Clark Griswold's whole story is about loving his family, protecting them, wanting to keep them together. Mr. Incredible's whole story is about leaving his family because he's unfulfilled by them and he has to go find adventures outside the house. So your argument is actually the opposite.
10 seconds for Billy.
Seconds. Those are good. Yeah, dude. So good. It's like Christmas. Tastes like Christmas.
Clark Griswold absolutely only cares about himself. Mr. Incredible cares about his entire family. His kids love him so much. He also can protect them. They all have superpowers. He takes them on adventures that they actually don't suck. And Clark Griswold takes them on shitty vacations.
Wow.
A good close.
Dan, is that true? What do you think?
Let me tell you, that's really difficult.
Yeah.
This is a barn burner. They came back at the end.
They came
Strong,
back
both
at
of
the
them.
end. I think that Billy unleashed a devastating first round against
Yes.
Lon, and for me, it was really, could Lon fight back against a really strong first round from Billy?
I thought he did when he said they left the family. That was a good follow up.
It was a good follow up, but I don't know if it was a better argument than Billy's. I think that Billy got it right at the end of his last part there, and I'm gonna side with Billy on this
JT,
one.
oh, you don't get to say
I
anything.
can't say
That's
anything.
right. I forgot. We're not in the speed run.
I will say Atticus Finch.
Yeah, well, that didn't matter. I agree with Dan. It was very close, Lon, but I got to give Billy the speed round or the
my God.
tie-breaking point.
So-
that means Billy, you're in the final speed round here with JT. And that means Lon, you're going to help us decide this. Round of applause though for Lon.
I've seen Incredibles once on a plane. I remember nothing. Could not give it to him.
All right,
Great.
here we go, guys. This is for all the marbles, the bragging rights.
All right.
3-1.
Until we do this again.
Yep. I can't wait.
Here we go.
Are you gonna let us know if the choices are open before?
Okay. Who would win in a fight? Rocky or Rambo?
Rambo.
JT got Rambo.
Yep.
And that means, Billy, you have Rocky.
Oh, I've already won this round just
You've lost
because
it.
JT's going to die inside no
No.
matter who wins. So, moral
All right,
victory.
whenever you're ready, JT, you're going to give us Rambo.
Rambo is the ultimate killing machine. He's a Green Beret that was a Vietnam POW. He's been tested. Rocky is too nice of a guy. He wouldn't see Rambo coming. He would trust him. And he would like shake his hand and be like, hey, buddy. Then Rambo would take him out with a knife. Rambo's a killing machine. I mean, he's a Green Beret. He's eating billy goats and doesn't puke. If you're going to fight Rambo, you better bring some body bags. And he has Troutman and more weapons.
Billy, when you're ready.
The thing with Rambo, yes, he is a Green Beret, but he's also shown in his movies that he's a little bit of a loose cannon. You don't know what he's going to do, but Rocky is so disciplined. He is a trained fighter. All he cares about is fighting. He knows how to win. He knows how to discipline himself to win that fight. In a one-on-one, he's absolutely going to knock out Rambo because Rambo's just going to sit in a corner and cry about all his life experiences while Rocky just gets up.
All right, JT.
Rambo is not a loose cannon when it comes to war. He is a perfect killing machine. Rocky is too nice. He's too good of a guy. Rambo actually has weapons, knives, artillery. He can stab you with a piece of wood and shape it. I meant to say shape piece of wood. I said it backwards. I meant shape piece of wood.
Rocky's a boxer. He's got the endurance. I think he could run circles around Rambo before Rambo could ever even touch him. He's gonna hit him with the knockout punch, and then if I want to take Rambo paintball gun, sure, he'd win that. But a straight fight, no.
It is who would win in a fight. Lon, let's go to you first based on those arguments.
Billy had the tougher. Billy was behind to begin with. I think he did a pretty good job of fighting back, but I still have to say, yeah, Rambo in war. I think Rambo's going to take it, so I go with JT.
Dan?
Very close. The question is, do I think Rocky's going to be around long enough to get that punch in? And I think maybe JTE made the case that he wouldn't be. It's close, but I got to say with JTE.
Yeah, I think you had a shot. It wasn't an impossible feat, but yeah, JT just clocked you with too hard with all the arsenal, so he was ready to go. So JT gets that point.
I might or might not have been arguing that fight my whole life.
All right, here we go. Ready? Mm-hmm. Since you all work on the show, what's the best speed round question we've ever asked?
Oh, God.
Can be TV fights or movie fights.
I got to try to remember some of the movie
What is the
fights
best speed
Wait,
round
can I ask
question?
a question before I answer?
Yeah.
Best in terms of like most creative, or just the best fight that came from it?
Best creative question.
I'm trying to remember some of the questions.
It's really, I don't remember him, and I
Yeah,
answered.
I know.
I would have had an unfair advantage.
Also,
Yeah.
fact check. I don't work on movie fights.
You do TV fights.
He said you could do a TV.
Oh, I can't do
Yeah.
TV fights.
Well, then that's a
JT watches them
disadvantage.
all.
I know. I'm just trying to...
Oh, okay. I've got mine
Say it.
on TV fights. We said, who would you rather share a bathtub with, Trump or Negan?
All right, JT, you
Are we,
gotta
going
give us.
for, are we going for like
Negan.
creativity here? Or?
Yeah. I'll take anything at this
Okay,
point.
I'm just trying to. I'm trying to remember if it's a speed round.
Can you not think of one?
Yeah, I'm thinking. Hold on, I'm thinking of a good one.
All right, you have until I finish this cookie.
Okay.
The new barometer.
Love these. Nature Box cookies.
Who would win in a fight, alien or predator?
That's one for my fight.
I did ask that.
That was
Oh,
I
wow.
fought that one.
Okay, we got one in. Good. Alien or Predator and Trump or,
Or Negan in a bathtub.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead, Billy, when you're ready.
I think Predator versus Alien is a very generic question, no offense, but I think it's something that everybody asks. Trump versus Negan in a bathtub, that's going to stir up some controversy. And if I do believe so, JTE actually won that point, so he knows it's a great question because it actually got him the victory of the game. It's funny, it's topical, it's something that starts a conversation. Predator versus Alien, yeah, we've had that conversation.
How dare you.
All right, ready? Here we go. Alien vs. Predator is a timeless question, something that's been asked since the 80s and one of the two greatest horror movie villains of all time in sci-fi. Your question is a question of the moment, of the time. 10 years from now, no one's going to care about that question. Negan's going to be an afterthought, something that failed to live up to the comics, whereas Predator and Alien are something that will stand the test of time in cinema history. And it's got to be Alien vs. Predator. There's so many variables.
10 seconds.
I think when you ultimately do a best of Screen Junkies show, my speed round is going to end up in that show because it's funny. It got such a great response. Yours is too generic to ever make a clip show because it's just like any other speed round.
This channel is called Screen Junkies for movie fans. They don't want to talk about Trump or Negan. They want to talk about films, and they want to talk about two of the greatest icons of horror and cinema ever. And not to mention, they have two different fighting styles. So that you have really taken into.
TV was allowed, bro.
That was a very fascinating fight.
How do you argue that?
I gotta give Billy though a props because I do think when he said what's gonna make the movie fights real, that's an insider win that I think edged me
insider.
over the sort of obvious fight. But I'm curious, Lon and Dan, where you were standing.
I mean, it's a little tough because I wrote one of the two questions being debated. So obviously, I think the Alien Predator question is dynamite. But I will say, even though he was trashing my work, I think Billy had a lot of great points. And I do think that the Trump-Negan question is very clever. So I would probably throw it to Billy.
Who made a better
Doesn't matter what Dan
argument?
thinks, but you can go ahead and say something.
I don't really get that round at all, so I agree with you two.
All right.
That's tough.
I don't know
right.
how to argue that.
Thank you.
All right, here we go.
Billy stays
So Billy,
alive.
you're still in this.
Billy's in a must-win
Must
situation
win.
on every
Are
question.
you guys ready? Are you ready?
Yeah.
Yep.
Hold on, let me get up. There we go.
Who would you rather be in a hot tub with, Negan or Trump?
Trump. Trump. That is not the real question.
Please, dear God, let that be the question.
That's the question.
I fought this already.
So you
going
got
again.
so you got Negan
I got Negan.
And
Okay.
he got Trump.
and JT got Trump.
Can I be excused?
Here we go. Is that who you fought
That's
last
actually
time?
who we fought last time.
That's exactly
And he
what I
won.
thought, and I won.
And you
won.
picked the one he knew he would win. You picked the other person.
Yeah, he
I'm
did
not
What
really,
a weird choice.
I'm not really thinking right now. I'm just doing. I'm like the Joker. I just do things.
All
There's
right,
no point.
I'm doing what the script says. I'm trusting Max on this one. We both thought it was funny. Here we go.
He's first.
Yes, you were first, Billy.
Fuck my life.
I got lots of ideas.
Hey, you have the.
Sorry. When JT won that argument, I don't believe Trump was yet president. So now that we know that he's president, nobody's going to show up to this thing. They didn't show up to his inauguration. Negan has to have women in this bathtub because he's going to force them to be there. It's going to be a party by force. Nobody wants to party with Trump. Nobody's going to party with Trump ever. They've shown that they don't want to party with Trump. I definitely want to...
Okay, JT.
Okay. I got quite a few things in. Originally, I said I'd want to be a Trump because he probably has a huge thing in Trump Palace. Now I actually get to go to the White House. There's no other time I'm ever going to be able to go to the White House, so this is my chance. Also, Negan, you're probably in some warehouse with a rusty tub. You'll probably cut yourself, and then he might kill you afterwards just for fun. At least Trump, I'm in it with bodyguards. I get to go to the Lincoln office. I can't. It's my own personal trip to the White House. How can you pass that up?
10 seconds, Billy.
JT, you fool! He doesn't even live in the White House. He's gonna be in New York the whole time. You're never going to the White House. At least my guy, I trust Negan with the baseball bat more than I trust Donald Trump anywhere within me.
10 seconds, JT.
I would never trust Negan. That's the one thing you learn from Walking Dead is never trust Negan. Trump, at least he has all the eyes on him. He can only make so many mistakes. Plus, I get to go to Trump Plaza. I'm hanging out with his kids. I get to hit on his sister, on his daughter.
Okay, you get to hit on Ivanka.
Yeah, there you
Ivanka,
go.
is that who you meant?
Ivanka,
or
yeah,
Tiffany?
man. Ivanka.
Okay,
The game cannot end on this question.
based on the answers, Lon.
Whew. Well, JT loses points for saying the Lincoln office. Which is not
The Oval Office.
the Lincoln office, Lincoln bedroom.
Yeah.
I'm sure Lincoln did have an office in there, but it's not the name of a
I meant to
place.
say both. That's why I need to go to the White House, Lon. I need to learn these things.
It's an education, right?
Wow. I don't want to get into a tub with either of these guys, but I don't know. I'm tempted to go with Negan because, like Trump, it's going to be depressing. It's going to be empty. He's going to be angry. Negan is going to have a bunch of people there because he forces them. They're scared of him. So
I thought JT had it with the whole White House thing, but then when you mentioned the whole, well, you're not going to go to the White House, you're going to be stuck in
you're
New York.
stuck in Trump Tower.
It
Yeah.
did sort of was a nice even blow. Dan, where are you going?
No, it's been a lifelong dream of mine to visit the Lincoln office. I thought that was a great angle. I thought Billy had a great comeback, but it was a comeback to what I thought was a really good argument and a really good way to spin the question, and I have to side with JTE on
The
this one.
only way to go, I'm going to the White House.
JT wins!
Oh, what a way to lose this game.
Go out on bathing with Negan.
Blame that producer.
So now JT is twice a Trump supporter.
Yeah.
Just
Hey,
for the record.
and Tom
For the
Brady.
record, JT
And
wants
Hey,
to be
no
in the
politics
back.
here.
Me-
We're trying
me,
to.
Brady,
We
and
kept it fun. Well, JT,
Wow.
you earned the bragging rights. How do you feel?
I feel really good. I was worried, those weren't exactly movie speedrun questions. So I was thinking to myself, oh, I got Billy. I know more movies, but I really had to get on my toes there. 'Cause those
Yeah,
were
we
tough.
had to make you
That was
really
a-
earn
That was a
it.
hell of
Yeah.
a fight.
Well, we'll talk more after the fight. I'm excited to. JT at JT Movie Thinks.
Yes,
Anything
guys,
else
check
you'd like
me
to
out.
plug?
Yeah, check out my YouTube channel where I do reviews, trailer reactions, everywhere. Schmodown, Screen Junkies right here. I'm all over the place, everybody.
Love it. Lon Harris at LONS.
That's me, Lons. Follow me on Twitter. I'm on a bunch of SJ Plus shows I pop up from time to time, so stay subscribed.
Good job, dude.
Thank you.
Billy Patterson at Billy A. Patterson.
Yeah, you can find me every Tuesday in the Dan Merle spot for TV Fights. Gentlemen, honored to have been here with you. I had a great time.
Yeah, this is fun.
Dan Merle at Merle Dan on Twitter.
At Merle Dan, what a fight this was. As we discussed on SG yesterday, I'm sorry, Billy, Lon, you're both fired. JTE, congratulations.
I regret nothing.
No, that's fun. That was energetic. I hope everyone enjoyed watching it at home as much as we enjoyed it here in the room. It's a good time.
Yes, those three cared. I love it. Thanks for bringing it as always, and thanks for your fabulous work here, gentlemen. Couldn't do what we do without you guys. So glad we got to showcase your movie expertise here for all of you to see. And thank you all at home for watching. Tune us in next week, or tune us in on ScreenJunkies.com for the After the Fight. right now. Bye-bye!
Thanks to NatureBox for sponsoring this episode. For more information, click the link in the description. And right now, you'll save even more because NatureBox is offering Screen Junkies fans 50% off your first order when you go to naturebox.com/screenjunkies. Again, that's naturebox.com/screenjunkies for 50% off your first order.